Boy, it's a different day and age. Be able to celebrate the way you can celebrate now, and they can't do anything to you.
I love it.
But the pitcher can celebrate too when he strikes you out.
Correct.
Morning, Clark. Baby Jules.
Should I put what kind of boss do you work for, or what kind of boss are you?
Well, I don't think most people are bosses.
Well, we are now, so I thought we could do a good...
Well, I think we could have fun.
Yes.
Paula, has the Chamber of Commerce hired you? Just curious. And you got to be part of the Michigan Department of Tourism or something. Realtor Clark Mark says he's a great boss. Isn't that up to the employees?
Correct. I was Brian Flores. I'm not going to lie. In my Everblades day, I was much more Brian Flores than I was Mike McDaniel. If ever given the opportunity to do it again, I would be the total opposite.
Ambient. What up, Buttercup? I used to say to my daughter in the morning, "Good morning, sunshine."
Yeah, boy, my daughter is not fond of waking up in the morning. She battles the wife every morning. So much so that I've threatened to start getting her up when I leave, and that's like, no! All right, let's hope everything works this morning, and we've got 20 seconds.
How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton. MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. So we're trying a different way to start the show here in the third act. Okay, it's like spin the wheel every morning. Sometimes the computer fires, sometimes it doesn't. But top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? You okay over there?
I'm fine. I just don't seem to understand that when it's playing and everything seems to be working, I have no idea how I can test it in the morning. Looks like I'm ready for another training session with the folks at Arrakis. It's all I can really say.
You know, it's always one button, one switch too. You know that. And then at some point you go, oh, and you hit it and then it works. So it's okay. It's all right. But it's a big day, Miller Mall. First off, it's my mom's birthday. I don't know if she's up yet. Happy birthday, Mom. It was great seeing you. Okay, we're singing happy birthday to you tonight at the Floor Meisters Fantasy Football Summit. And we want to see many of you there. Okay, it's a unique event. I mean, you know, how many places do you know they bring a fantasy expert? I mean, somebody who makes his money, all right, makes a living on fantasy sports, like Dr. Roto, puts them in a room with you. You can fire away all questions. And by the way, you walk out with his cheat sheet. as to how he's going to do his fantasy football season. And not only that, we have a buffet for you set up. I don't know.
I don't know if the audience that's coming tonight cares so much, but I do know a co-host that's going to be pretty fired up, because if he mentioned buffet within the first 80 seconds of the show, he's ready for a buffet.
No
You
doubt
are going to
about it.
see some grazing tonight, my friends.
It's worth traveling for. I'll tell you that. That's how fired up I am. So go to millermoulton.com and sign up if you have not already. Did you post the, poll question, or are you just talking about it?
Oh, no, it's posted.
Mark Miller fired up this morning for this poll question. Man, oh man, let's have it. Go.
Well, the big story yesterday was Tua completely undressing Brian Flores in an interview on the Dan Le Batard show. So I asked the question of all of you, how do we translate that to us? Who do you work for? What kind of boss do you work for? Brian Flores, Mike McDaniel? I have to say, in all of my jobs, I think I worked for Mike McDaniel once.
Okay.
Once. Every other time it was Brian Flores. And I've had a lot of jobs, David.
Yes, you and I have.
I don't recall too many bosses that were the type of boss that helped you get better. Most of the bosses tried to bring you down, yelled at you, brought you into the office and told you what you did wrong, never tried to accentuate your positives, always dove into the negatives, of which I have a lot. I, as a boss, was definitely a Brian Flores. I was a bad boss. I'm the first one to admit it. In my short tenure that I had down here as the vice president of the hockey team, I rode my employees hard. I was a tough love type boss. I was not a kumbaya type of boss. If ever given the opportunity to do so again, I would be the total opposite. I would much rather work for a Mike McDaniel than a Brian Flores. I think we all would.
I think we all would also. Yes. I wasn't a boss very often. I was only a sports director twice, where I was in charge, if you will, of the sports department at a local TV station. Actually, that's not true. 3 times, come to think of it. I was a boss 3 times. So I started out as a Mike McDaniel. I did. And by the time I ended, I was Brian Flores.
Interesting that you didn't go the opposite way, that you didn't start out harsh and mean, which your Jersey roots would seem to indicate that would be the case.
Now, see, they once again getting a bad rap, but I started out just, nice, pat on the back. It's okay. Don't worry. All right. No, it's fine. No, I'll cover for you. It's all right. Okay. And by the third act, if you will, because I was a boss in Binghamton, New York. I was a boss in Fargo, and I was a boss in Southwest Florida. And about midway through the Southwest Florida tenure, it began to hate everyone and everything. Yeah. I just 20 years of just local TV news incompetence just wore me out. We had a consultant in, and we were 2 stations under one roof, and we had the consultant, and we had a big midday meeting, 90 minutes with a consultant. And at the end of it, they went around the room and everybody had a comment. And I was one of the last people that they pointed at. And I looked right at the consultant and I said, this has been a complete and utter waste of time. Okay? Complete and utter waste of time. And you want us all to get along better. I want us to do the news better. All right? You haven't touched on anything that will make the product better tonight than it was before you got here. I don't give up if we get along. We can kumbaya in the hallways at 6:31. But from 5 o'clock to 6:30, we're a disaster. What are you going to do about that? Because you haven't done today.
Bosses must have loved you for that.
That was the last
They
time I
pay a
was
lot of
invited.
money for these consultants to
Yep.
come in.
And that was the last time I was invited to one of those, which made it even better. Gotta say, though, I was the hero in the newsroom because you knew 2/3 of the room was thinking the same thing.
Oh, there's no doubt. And you and I have been applauded by our coworkers many times following a meeting of which we've either said something similar, because you and I have been in a lot of these meetings where we've, well, said our feelings, whether or not they were the actual truth. There were enough people that were behind us that were afraid to say what we said in meetings. But you and I not only put our toe over the line, we generally vaulted over the line, which is now why we are working together and we are co-bosses of one another.
Exactly. It's because we're two people, and we know when we ask the other, do not ask the question unless you're prepared for the answer. And we have found out during our lives and careers that most people are not prepared for the answer. By the way, it also holds true in marriage. I don't know about you, Mark. I say it all the time to my wife, whom I adore and who I'm happily married to, 28 years and counting. But she asked me a question the other day, and I looked right at her and I said, "Can you handle the answer?" And she's like, I don't know. I go, "Okay, I'll just sit on it then." Do you really want the answer, or do you just want agreement?
Did you get there, 3, 5 years into the marriage? Did it take 15 years to the marriage to have that? Or were you that way from the get-go?
Um, I was that way from the get-go, but I wasn't understanding of how that would affect the other side. Okay. In the second half of the marriage now I'm understanding. And so I take that into account first.
Because I can honestly say always honest, I'm not there yet. The wife has some hard days, and sometimes there are actual truths to what I could say. Instead, I just go with, do you want a hug?
Can I get you red or white?
Right. Would you like, is it wine or martini tonight? Which one are you looking for? I am more than willing to make that drink. And you can tell me everything it is about your workplace. I will sit here and listen and offer no opinions, even though I have a bunch of them.
I have found sometimes, all right, that the first time they're ranting and raving, then they ask the question, it may be best not to answer it at that moment in time. Stall, deflect, but eventually, about 90 minutes later, they will talk themselves into asking the question again. And then, since glass of wine or whatever the case may be, all right, then you can give them they're better prepared for it when they're not foaming at the mouth for the answer.
Tell you
But
what,
anyway,
I'd love to be at Vikings camp today, though.
well, Kevin O'Connell's already responded. He responded by saying, "Well, Flores has a great relationship with our players." Which I mean, you have to do. I mean, he's your defensive coordinator.
I just can't wait if Flores is going to speak at some point, what he's going to say.
Yeah, he hasn't done a lot of interviews since he left the Dolphins.
I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And he may not do one here. He may just avoid and deflect.
Listen, this was not a secret if you listened to certain people 3 and 4 years ago in the South Florida sports scene. And one of the guys that we've always been friendly with and had on the show is the Big O. And Orlando Alcigari was saying this midway through Flores' tenure. He just said Flores doesn't like him, doesn't want him, wants to play any other guy. And he said
it's one thing to want to play any other guy. It's another. The comments that Tua is making are enough that it's going to affect if Flores were ever to get a head coaching job again.
It may. It may. I think him suing the league will affect it more. But yeah, I mean, but listen, come on. It was not a secret to us. And by
No.
us, I mean anybody that's been following the Dolphins for the last 3 years. I mean, we know why Flores got fired. He didn't get fired because he wasn't a, quote, good coach. He produced back-to-back winning seasons, for goodness sakes.
And a defense that was near elite.
All right. Brian Flores was an effective coach. In fact, when Flores got fired, there were a lot of us that said, well, hell, he did a better job than the guy who was assembling the talent for him. I mean, you look at what Brian Flores had to work with versus what Mike McDaniels had to work with. I mean, look at who Tua was throwing the ball to also under Brian Flores versus who he's throwing it to now.
Slight change.
Yeah, a little bit. But
what was Devontae Parker his best receiver?
Well, I mean, they had just drafted Waddle. Okay, but they weren't using him right. So you could blame Flores for that. All right. They did have Gesicki. Okay, and McDaniel used him differently, but Gesicki flamed out. But Tua, talking about Brian Flores, and we worked that into our poll question. We're going to have fun with this throughout the day. The starting five is 25 minutes away, Miller and Moulton.
Looks like it's going to be one of those commercial-free days, David. This portion of Miller and Moulton brought to you by Sleep Treatment Direct. Let's see if I can find the phone number in time to give them a proper ad. But right now, I'm not using a mask anymore because I'm working with the folks at Sleep Treatment Direct. And can I do two things at once? I can. Call them today if you want to quit snoring. If you want to get rid of your mask if it doesn't work for you. 444-1741. 444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct, a new alternative for sleep apnea patients. Call them today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Anything you want to talk about, David, and get an ad in? Or do you just have, maybe a fantasy football summon ad, a Floormeister's ad? What do you got, Moulton?
Well, I would like to encourage you. You've got a little over 12 hours to sign up for the Floormeisters Fantasy Football Summit. MillerandMoulton.com. MillerandMoulton.com. It's tonight, 7 o'clock. It's at the Doubletree, Bell Tower Shops, Fort Myers. Normally we have it at Shoeless Joe's, but actually, they reduced the size of their big room, and we're going to have more people than that. So we're going to be a little down the hall in a meeting room, Dr. Roto, and a buffet. 7 o'clock tonight, MillerandMoulton.com. Sign up.
Visit Jason and
That's a plan, Coffin Ball. Well, Feeney, there's our ads, and then there's the station's ads. Okay, I believe you're hearing the Zone's ads right now on 1070. Do you like them, EB? They were great. They were great for us.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
See? You did it.
Well, not really.
Okay. But anyway, we got the computer working just enough to continue with Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. A fun poll question today. Do you work for Brian Flores or Mike McDaniel?
Man, the people are sucking up early.
I know.
It's an anonymous poll.
Right. We're not asking you if you would be, unless everybody who responded is a boss. And that's the other thing. To the bosses out there, how many of you think you're Mike McDaniel? And yet, if we polled your employees, what would they say? But that's our poll question. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X. All right. Who do you work for? A Brian Flores or a Mike McDaniel? If you missed it, Tua went on the Dan Le Batard show and was basically asked about the first half of his career and now the last couple of years. And he said, well, here's the difference. If you worked for a guy who told you you can't suck enough every day versus you worked for a guy who told you you are perfect for what it is we need. He goes, how do you think you'd do? So I got to admit, there's Tom Brady's done a lot of talking in the last year and a half, and Tom seems to be somebody who likes a tough love coach more. And Tom gives the impression he thinks that certain people are coddled. Doesn't like throwing the young quarterback in right away. I'll be curious how much of this Tom is going to bring to Fox. He's brought it to podcast. He's brought it to his Sirius XM show. But I'm curious how much of this Tom is going to bring to the booth. He's even given an interview recently, Mark, where he said, I got to make sure I'm not as negative as I know I can be.
I want negative Tom.
I do too.
Be a different broadcast, that's for sure, because we don't have a whole lot of that.
I mean, quite frankly, he gives, based on his post-retirement comments, he sounds like he would be the Johnny Miller of football.
Very much so.
And it's not that Johnny didn't praise golfers and shots and swings and what have you, but Johnny had no problem, as those of us who followed golf for 25 years when Johnny Miller was broadcast, he had no problem just saying, oh, he's choking, or that's the worst shot of his life, or you can't make that mistake. Mickelson's tee shot at Winged Foot. Ben Hogan is rolling over in his grave right now. I mean, we don't have an analyst like that in football.
We don't have one close. Really in sports right now. I mean, who is the announcer, David, that you would say goes to that side, if you will, most often?
Analyst? There isn't one. There isn't one. Now, there are commentators, who make their living, a talking head person who is like that, or two or three or six. But no, there's not an analyst.
And we will wait to get Brady until week 1.
Right.
The practice game was a practice game for him.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They did the same thing with Romo. Nance and Romo did games, in private, if you will, before, Tony was unleashed on Western civilization as we know it.
I have to say, as someone who cut his teeth sitting behind the broadcaster with a tape recorder broadcasting to myself, it's fun to see the biggest names in sport doing practice games. And then having to listen to the tape with their bosses and be critiqued. would love to be in the room to see if there's an eye roll out of Brady when the producer or director says, Tom, you might want to approach it this way, or you might want to do it like this. Or what if you were, I would just think that Brady's sitting there looking at a Super Bowl ring going, whichever one he put on that day.
Which one you wearing today? I'm going Carolina Panthers today, guys. Okay, Tom, good to know. Good to know.
So that would be fun to watch as he's getting the breakdown of his performance to essentially no one.
So our poll question today is, do you work for Brian Flores or Mike McDaniel? Which is basically, pardon my French, do you work for a hard ass or do you work for a pat on the back guy? Right?
Yeah.
So, and yes, we know there's a canyon in between the two, and you're probably, my boss can be both. Okay. I mean, listen, Mark said in his last go around as a boss that he was Brian Flores. And he said if he had a mulligan, he'd be Mike McDaniel. But there were times, and you said you were a hard ass. It's 6 years? Okay, 7 years, the startup, you guys, and then you were there, into their, I think, 6th or 7th season. So you did, you did, I think, 7, almost 8 years. Okay, with the, Florida Everblades running things and what have you. Obviously, I mean, you and the Blades were very successful.
I mean, incredibly successful, but I would have done things differently. We had a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, but when push came to shove, I was not hug the employee type person. I was we've got to get this done.
Right.
It's not about being nice here. It's about a result.
And I started off as Mike McDaniel. I had 3 different cracks at being a boss in local TV sports as a sports director, if you will, of a department. And it wasn't a lot of people. I mean, I think the biggest department I ever had was 6 people. All right. But, I started off as Mike McDaniel, and I definitely finished as Brian Flores. Oh, yeah.
21,000 is the text line. If you want to chime in that way, you can. If you haven't texted the show in a while, you need to text the keyword Miller to 21,000. Once you've done so, you're behind the gate, and you can text whenever you would like.
And so far, early voting, apparently there are a bunch of pat on the back bosses out there. Because nearly 3/4 of those who have responded say they work for a Mike McDaniel. Wow. That's good to hear. By the way, does that mean that you're very talented, but you don't win in the playoffs?
A lot of flash, no finish.
Right. Everybody feels really good about themselves. Okay, just can't quite get it done.
Person says, I work for a combo of both. His best phrase to an employee was, if you're going to be stupid, you better be tough. That leans Flores. I hate to tell you that, sir.
Yeah, if that's what you really think of when you think of your boss, then that's a little more Flores. Listen, Flores patted people on the back. Apparently, just not Tua. Well, it's kind of like, if you talk to people about Nick Saban's 2 years with the Dolphins, I mean, you can't get Zach Thomas to say anything good about Nick Saban. Okay. Jason Taylor thinks he's the best coach he ever played for. I mean, there are people with the Dolphins that thought Nick was an incredible coach. Jason's the only one who can say it publicly because he's got the resume to back it up. Most everybody would have lit Nick on fire during those 2 years in South Florida if they could have gotten away with it. So even hard asses have the people who, love them. Including the people that are interviewing on the sidelines during preseason games and Patriots games. Miller and Moulton. The starting 5 is next, and then David Samson is back. Top of the hour, starting 5 next. Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks lie peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
Attention all lovebirds. This is the event you've been waiting for. The Summer Wedding Band event with Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. It's bigger and better than ever. Join the Diamond District August 24th and 25th, where you'll find the perfect symbol of your eternal love. Enjoy 20% off designers retail pricing on their entire collection from Crown Ring, A. Jaffe, My Caroline, M-Fit, and Viraggio. Jason and Todd will be in the store to help you choose the perfect wedding band at 20% off.
Jacksonville's going to have to deal with the background the way it is today. There's no way I can do both. I'm firing every commercial manually. Nothing's working, so.
They're very happy with us. By the way, they included us in promo that ran in the Jags game over the weekend.
Wow.
Tell you what, it's the best local sports department I've ever seen. Amazing the resources they dedicate. They do a high school football red zone. And then they do like a 2-hour post-game show. It's unreal. Thanks, dude. Yeah. Coach Grizzle, when I got out of local TV and was working for the local sports radio station, for a couple years, we did a live high school football postgame show from like 10 o'clock to 11:30 on the radio. Did a 1 hour pregame, 6 to 7, and then a 90-minute post. Hell, Mark and I, all right, although I don't know if you did it.
I didn't. You did it with DeLuca.
No, but we did the 1 year. I know we did pre.
Oh, yeah,
on
we
the
did 3 blades.
But also the year that the first year you got fired, they went to the conference finals. I remember we did post game call in shows when they were, yeah.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
I'll tell you what, this has been a very educational day so far for Miller and Moulton, having some fun with the whole Tua interview with Dan Le Batard, basically saying that Brian Flores was a royal pain in my and Mike McDaniel is Mr. Sunshine. And so Mark said, I know the poll question. Let me take it from here. What kind of boss do you work for, Brian Flores or Mike McDaniel? And much to our utter shock so far, 78% of you work for Mike McDaniel.
And we got a text here. 21,000 is the text line. Texter says, school teacher here. I've worked for both and actually prefer a Brian Flores.
Okay. Big Mike posted on X. My supervisor, super nice guy. I show up for work, let him know what my plans are for the day, and I don't see him for the rest of the day unless I have a problem, and he praises me for the work I do. Wow.
Good for you.
Yeah. That is awesome. Congratulations. I have no idea what you're talking about.
As I am in the building that I'm in, David, I don't either.
No, you do not. And Miller and Moulton now work for each other. And we have no idea of that which you speak.
What's that you say, Brian?
We should ask some of our former producers. So who do they think we are?
Well, I know what Felipe would say about me.
What the hysterical thing is that you may have been Brian Flores to him, but you kept him employed. I was Mike McDaniel, and I wanted to fire him.
Every day.
For a year.
Yep. I think Trent would think we were McDaniel because he thought everybody was Mike McDaniel.
Yes, I know. Just, happy, happy, joy, joy. Isn't the world great? I mean, even watching Detroit Tigers games are fun. Yes, I know. The Pistons are interesting. I mean, that's who we were dealing with. So obviously he had to go. 20 minutes before the hour, time for
The Starting Five. 5 big stories you need to know. Here is The Starting Five.
David Samson coming up at the top of the hour. Hey, I didn't realize, Mark, that there was a quarterback competition going on with the Commanders. Did it shock you when all of a sudden the Commanders, all right, breaking news on the bottom of the screen, the red font and everything, Commanders named Jaden Daniels starting quarterback? Wait.
What were the other options?
Was this in doubt? I mean, the backup quarterback didn't even play last week. He's hurt. For the record, the backup quarterback is Marcus Mariota. So, hey, Jaden Daniels going to be the quarterback opening day in Tampa when the Commanders take on the Bucs. A very serious situation are all the injuries throughout the NFL. The Bills' injuries continue to pile up. So I'll double down on if the Jets and or Dolphins can't get them this year, honestly, forget about it. Mitch Trubisky, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, tight end Quentin Moss, all out multiple weeks. None of them will be ready for the opener. And then remember, 4 days after the opener, they play the Dolphins in Miami. So, right now, the backup quarter, Josh Allen, talk about a year that he really needs to stay healthy, particularly at the start of the season, because they got nobody worth a darn right now, even on the roster, to back him up. Dolphins put 2 on the injured list. Offensive lineman Sean Harlow and wide receiver Willie Snead. They're done for the year. They also waived Zeke Vandenberg, a linebacker, and running back Salvon Ahmed, who just spent 4 years with them, scored 6 touchdowns. But Dolphins have a pretty crowded running back room, and so they got rid of him. They did sign 4 people, though, to replace these 4. Don't know how much of a chance they're going to have to make the team this late in the survey. Colt McCoy retired yesterday. He didn't play last year. So 13 years in the league, 5 different teams. He is going into broadcasting, which makes sense. You could see that. NBC. In fact, his first game, we talked late last week, Mark, that NBC's got Tirico and Collinsworth for Ravens Chiefs. And then they announced that Noah Eagle and Todd Blackledge are going to do the Friday night game on Peacock in Brazil between the Packers and Eagles. Well, that's their number 1 college football crew. So we wondered, well, who's going to do the Saturday night game, Colorado, Nebraska? Well, it turns out that that's where Colt McCoy is going to make his NBC broadcasting debut. He's the analyst. And off the top of my head, I forgot who the play-by-play guy is. So there you have it. Baseball. Orioles came back from a 3-0 deficit. 3-3, bottom of the 9th. Francisco Alvarez given the green light on a 3-0 pitch, and he hit the tar out of it. Solo game-winning homer.
Did he ever? Was watching that game.
And he let everybody know, too, that he hit the tar out of it. 4-3 Mets over the Orioles, so the Yankees back in first by a half a game. Yainer Diaz, Yainer Diaz of the Astros, a walk-off in the 9th off Kenley Jansen. 5-4 Houston over Boston. The Astros win combined with Seattle's 3-0 loss to the Dodgers. And just like that, Houston's lead in the West is 5.
They were 10 games back in June.
And they were tied 8 days ago. And now they're 5 up on the Mariners. Dodgers are 3 in the 7th to win it 3-0. By the way, you combine Boston's loss with the Royals' 5-3 win over the Angels, and Boston now 4.5 back of both Minnesota and Kansas City for a playoff spot. Minnesota and the Royals are now tied because the Padres kept pace with the Dodgers and beat the Twins 5-3. So both the Royals and the Twins are 2.5 back of the Guardians. Padres 3 back of the Dodgers. Diamondbacks 4 back of the Dodgers. They did what we thought. Did we bet them?
Yes.
Okay. I just didn't know. I know it was
bad
like
odds. I never played the parlay that I wanted, and we would have lost. So I'm happy about that.
Okay. Arizona got a homer and 6 RBIs from Adrian Del Castillo in a 9-6 win over the Marlins. Giants, by the way, back over 500, 3.5 behind the Braves for the final playoff spot in the National League. They beat the White Sox 5-3. We mentioned it. The A's and or Giants fans really showed up over the weekend in Oakland for the last ever series between the 2 Bay Area teams, the Giants and the A's, because the A's are moving. They'll play in Sacramento the next 3 years. Last night, the Rays came to town. Over under 4,000.
Under
Under 39-38 in the ballpark for the A's. 3-0 win over the Rays. Tampa Bay falls back to 500. Our Reds, Mark, 4 in the 6th, beat Toronto 6-3. They are a tease. They are Noreen Ziegler. I'll tell you this. Cincinnati Reds are Noreen Ziegler from my high school days, right there. 6-3 Reds over the Jays. And the Pirates are 3-13 in August. That doesn't seem good.
No, they battled to get back to 500, thought they were going to have a shot at making a wild card run, and I mean just have tanked ever since then.
They were tied for second when the month began. They were 2 games over 500. 3-13 since. Had a 10-game losing streak in that stretch. Corey Seager, 2 homers. Texas beat the Buccos 4-3. And let me tell you, I'm a Mets fan. I feel sorry for the Braves. That's how many injuries they have. Third baseman Austin Riley out for at least the rest of the regular season. Might even miss the whole postseason no matter how far they go because it's 6 to 8 weeks minimum. He has a broken right hand. This is staggering, the number of injuries to big-time players that the Braves now have. Wow. NASCAR, rain delayed, Firekeepers 400 at Michigan. Tyler Reddick held on despite 2 late restarts. He actually was in second on the second restart, but he passed William Byron to win. Ty Gibbs finished third. Reddick also moved into first in the points race with the win. Ross Chastain is 1 point ahead of Bubba Wallace for the final playoff spot with 2 races to go. 1 point. As of now, 12 different drivers have won a race. That leaves 4 wild card spots available. Ross Chastain, a point ahead of Bubba Wallace with 2 races to go. College football news. Yesterday was the day, Mark, that a lot of teams announced who their starting quarterback was. Miller Moss, the guy who backed up Caleb Williams, he's the starter at USC. Malik Murphy. You remember when Quinn Ewers got hurt last year and they didn't go to Arch Manning? They went to Malik Murphy, and he started and won 2 games for the Longhorns. He transferred to Duke. He's their starting quarterback. DeQuan Finn named the starting quarterback at Baylor. He had just started the last 3 years at Toledo. And Maddox Madsen, who was the backup last year at Boise State, wins the job, which is a big headline because he was competing against Malachi Nelson. Malachi Nelson was backing up Caleb Williams 2 years ago at USC. Didn't want to wait another year and has now transferred, picked Boise State because I'll be able to win the job there, and he doesn't win it. 2 other college football notes, if I may, Mark. First off, college football has become such a big organization that some programs literally have hired general managers. Kalen DeBoer had a guy that he considered his general manager at Washington. He brought him with him to Alabama. But before he said yes, USC threw a bunch of money at him. And so Courtney Morgan, Mark, is the general manager of Alabama football. And he makes $825,000 a year.
No salary cap in that league.
Well, certainly not in the SEC or the Big Ten for that matter. Come on.
Nope.
Let's not kid ourselves. But finally, Mark, I think I'm saving the best for last. All right. You know, when you're an athletic department, much like Miller and Moulton, you need sponsors.
Whew, boy, do we ever. Tech
Right.
sponsor to 21,000.
The University of Miami yesterday announced a multi-year partnership with their new official sponsor, Mr. Meat Master. Correct.
What?
Mr. Meat Master is the new official sponsor of Miami Hurricane Athletics. A, I have no idea what Mr. Meatmaster is. I'm assuming it has something to do with steaks and ribs. Secondly, apparently, Mark, Mrs. Meatmaster's endorsement is still available. No? Nothing?
I'm looking up Mr. Meatmaster. Sorry.
Yep. But, so Miami procured Mr. Meatmaster. I think this is an opportunity for FIU or FAU to grab Mrs. Meatmaster. No?
I think you're onto something.
8 minutes before the hour, that was the starting five. 5 big stories you need to know here on Miller and Moulton.
Although if it's Mr. Meatmaster, would it be Mrs. Chicken?
Mrs. Pork?
Could be. The other white meat.
Hey, power advertising. When did they go with that? 30-something years ago?
Oh, yeah.
Worked like a charm on you, though.
Absolutely. Never left me. And I thought it was a bad ad, and I'm still calling it the other white meat a generation or two later.
How many Miami fans made fun of FIU with the whole announcement last week about Pitbull and Pitbull Stadium? Don't you think this is when FIU can come back and go, really, Mr. Meatmaster? Really? You're giving us a hard time? Pitbull Stadium and Pitbull's vodka? And you counter with Mr. Meatmaster.
College athletics.
Mm-hmm. And listen, we're just jealous that Mr. Meatmaster is not a proud sponsor of Miller and Moulton. Just think of the alliteration possibilities.
Trying to figure it out right now, David. Looking for that marketing page on the site.
Miller and Moulton. David Samson will join us coming up next. We'll talk to Liam Rooney in our 8 o'clock hour about Florida State's game with Georgia Tech, and we'll talk a little NFL with Howard Cross in our bonus hour.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. Do you have a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
Attention all lovebirds. This is the event you've been waiting for. The Summer Wedding Band event with Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. It's bigger and better than ever. Join the Diamond District August 24th and 25th, where you'll find the perfect symbol of your eternal love. Enjoy 20% off designers retail pricing on their entire collection from Crown Ring, A. Jaffe, My Caroline, M-Fit, and Viraggio. Jason and Todd will be in the store to help you choose the perfect wedding band at 20% off.
David has the link, right? There he is. Hey!
Hey.
Morning, David.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hear you great. Loud and clear.
Fantastic. How are you?
Well, how are you? How was the trek? What did you hike? We'll ask this on the air probably as well, because I just saw you at the summit. Where were you hiking?
It's called Torrey's Peak. It's one of the 14ers in Colorado. So you get to 14,270 feet, and you do it in a day. You start at like 5 in the morning, and it's fucking stupid. I wish that people would choose to do easy things in memory of dead people.
A drink's always nice.
I suggested it for next year. 14,000 drinks.
Or the 270. One or the other.
You guys good?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a fantasy event tonight in Fort Myers. Dr. Roto, who's got a bit of a national name. He's really good, actually. He lives in Southwest Florida. And so for a few years now, this is like our, I think, 4th year in a row we've done this.
What time of day do you do it?
7 o'clock at night.
Oh, shit. You're going to be tired tomorrow.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's all right. But it's like a 90-minute thing. People sign up. He's in a room. He hands out his cheat sheet, and he answers any and all fantasy questions. He tells them how he, does his board. He does his draft. I mean, if you're into fantasy sports, this is...
It's a master class in fantasy football.
I love that.
And we get people dinner and, I don't know,
Like
not bad
pizza or like filet?
Well,
like
not
pizza.
filet. Yeah, burgers, pizza.
It's basically at a sports
Come
bar.
on,
David.
This is Miller and Moulton. This isn't,
Well, if I had my way, the
yes,
I gotcha.
It's the difference between the sophistication here. There's Moulton sophistication, which is sliders and chicken fingers, and then there's
When does your football slates begin?
end of the month for me, and then it's full bore.
Jesus, that was the fastest off season of all time. Got home last night at 11. Finished my last load of laundry about 2.5 hours ago.
haven't been to bed.
Left. No. I watched The Union while doing laundry. The new Netflix movie with Mark Wahlberg and Halle Berry.
Good.
Terrible. Fucking terrible. A paycheck for them, but somehow an executive watched that movie and approved it.
Yeah, because it had Mark Wahlberg and Halle Berry in it, and they figured that's good enough.
I kept picturing them during the screening, thinking, I won an Oscar.
Right. Do you think they were talking to one another going, man, this is terrible? Yeah, I know, but I need the money. Yeah, me too.
Has to be. Has to be. It's like putting a shitty baseball product on the field. We know it's shitty. You don't need to tell me.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floormeister Studios. Floormeisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And since it's the 7 a.m. hour in the East on Tuesday, that means one David Samson. He have nothing personal with David Samson. You can follow him on X, David, the letter P Samson, David P Samson. We missed you last week. Where were you?
It's funny. I lose track of days when I'm not with you on a Tuesday morning. But yes, I was away. I was helping raise money for charity and doing something interesting in Colorado. But I'm more than happy to be back in the chair for you this morning.
Well, we are glad to have you back, obviously. But tell us about your adventure, because I saw the X post of you at the summit of a mountain, and you did not. I mean, obviously you did it for a cause, but you did not seem to like it as much as some of these other adventures you have gone on, David.
Well, I wasn't ready. So here's the deal. I have a really good friend whose daughter tragically passed away as a teenager, and he raises money for charities in her honor. And he climbs a 14er. He lives in Colorado, so he's totally acclimated, though it's very hard still to do. And I said I would do it with him this year. So I went to Colorado. I tried to acclimatize, and I sort of did. But you leave at 3:30 in the morning to get to the trailhead, and there's a bunch of Coloradoans who are all in good shape and just in a better position than I am. And you start climbing, and 7 hours later, you step off the mountain. You feel like you accomplished something, and then your back hurts. You've got a bloody shin from falling on the slippery rocks. Your groin hurts, and then you fly home, do laundry, stay up all night, and you get back in the chair and get back to work. That was my weekend.
Okay, well, no wonder you raced back to the city to sit in your big baseball glove of a chair to talk for a living. It sounds much better. Hey, our poll question today is: what kind of a boss were you, Brian Flores? We're asking people what kind of a boss that they work for: a Brian Flores type boss or a Mike McDaniel type boss.
So thank you for asking, because that's going to be the lead on Nothing Personal in 57 minutes. But you can watch it on the DraftKings Network at 10 o'clock when your show's over. I would say this, that are you saying that Brian Flores is a boss? And is this how you're going to characterize it? That he basically belittles you, tells you you stink, and says, go get him. And is that what we're saying about Brian?
Well, yeah, it's certainly tough love, to say the very least.
Or a hard ass.
Yeah, hard ass boss. I mean,
Yeah,
Bobby Knight, for those that go back far enough. I mean, we've all know coaches that coached that way.
And so Mike McDaniel, are we going to characterize him as a powder puff?
Well, I mean, listen, take Tua out of it, because Tua specific. Flores didn't treat everybody the way he treated Tua, but it's basically Flores was a hard ass. McDaniel's a backslapper. Who do you work for?
The best boss is both. And so I'd like to think of myself. There were times I was very jocular as the boss. I'd like to consider myself very plugged into things that were happening in the company. But there are moments that you can't be. When you are a leader, there has to be tough love at some point. It's a lot like being a parent. If you just let your kid grow up with no rules, you're going to have a problem. If you let your kid stick his hand in the oven, you're going to have a problem. And there's other times you just hug them so tightly, whether it's with a failure or a success, and you show that level of support and unconditional love. Were there times when I was upset with what people were doing, working for me? Of course.
But David, you know what we're getting at. Of course, and yes, parenting, being a boss, of course, the best is a combination of the two. But usually you fall at least 51% on one side. No, and that's all we're asking. Do you work for a demanding boss, or do you work for a really supportive? It doesn't mean the supportive boss doesn't hold a meeting and go, you guys are not getting the job done, but which is it?
David, I love that you're trying to pin me down, but I'm not going to let you do it, because there were moments when I was both. And I think that's what you have to be. And you can say, of course, but it is just so unfair to me to characterize anybody. And let's not even talk about Tua. Let's talk about you or me or anybody. You don't judge people by their worst moment, and you don't judge people by their best moment. Was Bobby Knight the chair-throwing, vehemently angry lunatic at all moments? I bet you he walked into plenty of living rooms as a person of gravitas and serious yet endearing. Of course, there were moments on both sides. So I think if you took a poll of all of my employees over the years, the thousands of employees, Fine, I'll give it to you. I'd say it would be 65-35 fair.
65-35 McDaniel, then, is what you're saying.
No, you're saying McDaniel because
It's our poll question.
You are
fine.
starting
It's
to-
your show.
You're
Your poll
starting-
question.
Nothing personal. You can phrase this however you want. You're in the minor leagues right now. This is Miller and Moulton. Okay, there's no gray with this.
First
You
of all,
are
you're
a
not the minor
gray
league, so stop
three-piece
it.
suit right now.
Okay, fine. I am 65% Florannual.
All right.
Man.
Let's see. You're not going to answer this, so I'll give you
No.
another question. The commissioner now wants starting pitchers to go 6 innings. Look it seems outlandish, it seems crazy, but this guy has come up with a lot of different ideas. Most everything he's wanted to do, he's got done. Does this have any substance to it whatsoever?
I used to hang from a pole to try to get to 5'7". So aspirations are amazing, and having starting pitching definitely matters. Having it go deep matters. Why? Not the gambling side. Let's take that away for a moment, because certainly baseball would like it if there were more money gambled on it. It is not the NFL. It is not the NBA. And it is a huge source of revenue, but it could be bigger. And of course, owners are looking for more revenue. The fact of the matter is that when you're selling tickets, when you're selling the products to your broadcasters, it used to be that the starting pitching matchup would guide purchasing decisions. And it just doesn't work that way anymore, because you are not seeing a starting pitcher go deep into games because analytics tells you it's not the best way to win. Remember the big difference now. You've got a bullpen full of guys blowing 98 to 100 miles an hour. Back in my day, and I'm not old, but I feel old sometimes, often your starting pitcher was the best pitcher you had on your staff. And it just doesn't work that way anymore. But I think this really came into focus, the World Series. And of course, I'll be confused. But I think it was last year when both teams had a bullpen game early in the World Series. And I think Rob, the commissioner, just looked and said, come on, we got to think of something. So get the think tank going.
Is he also trying to address multiple issues at the same time? Way too many injuries to pitchers. Why? Because it's throw it as hard as you can, long as you can, and then when you break down, we'll repair you, which is leading to less and less contact in the game. The Major League Baseball batting average right now is barely 240. In that, if we start pitching to contact more, if we force guys to, like I was at a Mets-Marlins game in your ballpark when Pedro Martinez near the end with the Mets, and Pedro threw 88 to 90 all game. And the Marlins got second and third with one out in the sixth. And Pedro threw 95 for 4 minutes, got 2 guys out and walked off the mound. And don't you think that's what Rob Manfred's trying to do? Learn to pitch at 90% and reach back when you have to.
You're giving an example of one of the best pitchers in the history of baseball.
Well, but all pitchers used to be raised that way, where you got outs at 90%, and then when you had 2 on and you needed a strikeout, you reached back.
And then the numbers would tell you that, hey, it's better not to pitch to contact because bad things happen. When you're the when you're the hitting coach, you say, listen, don't strike out. Put the ball in play. You never know. Something good can happen. When you're the pitching coach, don't let them put the ball in play. Don't make the fielders do anything but stand there and spit out sunflower seeds. That is the analytics of the game. So when you are talking to your pitching staff and you're going over the plan of attack with your hitters, doing a pitching meeting, you're not saying, listen, this guy, he's got weak contact on the lower outside part of the plate. Let's pitch right into his area of contact and let the defense play for you. No, we are looking at his swings and misses. We are looking exactly what consecutive pitches to throw in order to get as many swing and misses as possible. And that's the game today. And what the commissioner says to the owners is, what game do you want? Do you want a game where people hit 240 and everyone's striking out, sort of the great true outcome of home run, walker strikeout? Or do you want a game where there's contact? And owners to this point have said, we'll take the game the way it is, but shorter, hence the pitch clock. Now, injuries is different, and I want to spend 10 seconds on that. This is not recent. This is not about guys throwing 100. We've been studying injuries. Man, it's been going on for the 24 years I've been involved in baseball, because it's one of the great problems of any sport is owners don't like paying players not to play. And that's what injuries are. Forget lack of performance, forget personality issues. When a player is hurt, it is bad for everybody, but mostly the owners. So therefore, they've studied it, and so far, no dice.
The other side of it is on the context. Look, we're not talking baseball a whole lot on national shows right now. We're talking football. We're getting ready for the season. And I mean, you couldn't have more races. You've got 4 or 5 teams in each league vying for the best record in baseball with what the Diamondbacks and the Padres have done in the National League. You got 5 teams there. You got 5 teams in the American League. And one of them is the damn New York Yankees. And yet, from a national standpoint, no one's talking baseball.
So I don't agree with that, but that is definitely what people say is no one talks baseball. But there are amazing shows, and I'm not just about nothing personal, but there's amazing conversations and shows. And the time for baseball is when September comes after Labor Day. Yes, the NFL is starting, but you've got the end of the pennant races, then you've got the playoffs in October. So what baseball does from a marketing spend standpoint, and what teams do from a marketing spend standpoint, when they're pitching stories, pun intended, to national media, when they're getting their players out there doing interviews, it is when the calendar goes to September and October. And this is an interesting year because you said it right. There are fans in about 10 cities right now who think they could be going to a parade, and that doesn't often happen.
This is going to be the first year, unless somebody gets unbelievably hot and we've got 30 seconds. This will be the first time in 10 years that no one wins 100 games in baseball.
Parity. That's what we always want. We want more teams in the race so more fan bases can be engaged and it can be more exciting down the stretch.
He's David Samson. He hosts Nothing Personal with David Samson. He records it live, 8 o'clock in the morning. Go where you get your podcasts. He's also part of the CBS Sports family. What network at 10 o'clock if you miss it live?
DraftKings Network, 10 o'clock. You can catch my show. Have a great time. See you later, guys.
Follow him on X, David the letter P Samson, David P Samson.
McFlores over there.
Right. You're right. Yeah. Floor Daniel.
Right.
Okay. Which
Moulton.
sounds like flooring. Okay. Go to Floor Daniel. Okay. And get nothing but gray area with Floor Daniel, AKA David Samson. Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real. The Floor Meisters Fantasy Football Summit is back Tuesday, August 20th, 7 o'clock at the all-new Shoeless Joe's inside the Doubletree at the Bell Tower Shops, Fort Myers. Dr. Roto is the star, and he'll answer all your fantasy questions to give you his keys to winning your league. So sign up for Dr. Roto dinner and non-alcoholic drinks at millerandmoulton.com. Seating is limited. millerandmoulton.com, Tuesday, August 20th, 7 o'clock, the Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and 1 replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com.
This is Miller and Moulton. You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Liam Rooney will join us next hour. The Noles take off tomorrow for Ireland. Many of their fans are already there. That's how you do it. It's a business trip for the team. They're going to get in Thursday into Ireland, play on Saturday, and then come home. The fans, who knows when they're coming back?
Well, they probably got there. It's one of two things. They're either going today or tomorrow and staying the week after, or they got there last Friday.
I know.
If you're going to make that trek, you're going to go there and take in the countryside and do a few things, I would imagine.
I know a few people who left Sunday and got in early Monday morning in Dublin. So Florida State, Georgia Tech, magic numbers 4, 11, and 16, baby. 4 days away from the Noles and the Yellow Jackets. 11 days away from the big college football Saturday, in which many of us think the season gets underway. And it's 2 weeks Thursday, baby. 16 days away, Ravens and Chiefs. Everybody down to one preseason game. Let's do this.
11.5 is the number that the Noles are favored by in the game against Georgia Tech. A lot of new bodies.
Yeah, it seems like a lot to me. I think I'd take the points.
I would lean the same way you are right now.
Florida State's schedule is harder than people are giving it credit for. I mean, there are 5 games they can lose on that schedule. I'm not saying they're going 7-5, but I'm saying that there are 5 games where they can lose. They can. I mean, the obvious ones. They can lose to Clemson. They can lose to Miami. They can lose to Florida. Don't think they can't. The 10-win team 2 years ago was trailing in the fourth quarter at home to Florida. All right? Come on.
Got to go to Notre Dame.
Obviously.
Got to go to SMU.
Yeah. First ACC game, by the way, for SMU. I mean, that's 5 right there. That's not counting the, do they have any scheduling court games? Oh, listen, you consider Georgia Tech and Ireland a scheduling court game.
I know it's coming off a bye and they host them, but they play Memphis, who's a good AAC team.
There are some that think they're the best group of 5 team in the sport this year. Memphis has a schedule, by the way. Just saying. I mean, the Florida State schedule, it's not Georgia's from last year. That's the point I'm trying to get across. And with all the players that they lost, and here's the other thing. This quarterback has had a very interesting college career. He's had some tremendous highs. He's blown some games too. You know, I don't think you're going to get the quarterback play this year that you got last year. That's fair, isn't it? That DJ's not as good as the guy who played the 2 years before him. I think that's fair.
I mean, he's 26.
I understand, but I mean, Jordan Travis or DJ?
Jordan Travis.
Right. So, you know, right there, you've lost a bunch of guys, and your quarterback play is not going to be as good. Now, Mike Norvell thinks that the Noles are loaded and has had no business, you know, no problem telling people, oh, this team could be really good. Okay, I hope you're right.
It's the best team. He's saying it could be the best team he's ever had, which is lofty expectations for a team that was undefeated a year ago and graduated all those good players, many taken in the draft.
I mean, you know, last year's team won 19 in a row if you go back to the last 6 of the year before. And those of us that are, you know, not Gator or Canes fans, who obviously don't want the Noles to have any success, but, you know, Miller and Moulton, we want the 90s and early 2000s for the big three in the state of Florida again. You know, I mean, I know it's tough in Alabama to have both Alabama and Auburn good at the same time. You know, one of you roots for one and not the other. But Miller and Moulton, we want really good to great.
We're very Mike McDaniel when it comes to how we want the football teams.
Yes.
We want to be wrong about all the quarterback, you know, any quarterback that we didn't have a high expectations for in the NFL. We still want them to be good.
Totally.
We don't root against quarterbacks.
Totally. We want Bo Nix to make us look like idiots when neither one of us would have drafted him. Never mind 12th overall. Now, I mean, you know, 4th round, 3rd round. Yeah, but I mean, we did not look at Bo Nix as a franchise quarterback.
Would not have touched him in the first round.
No
was
way.
Not interested.
Nope.
And if he proves us wrong, good on him.
Absolutely. Yep. So, by the way, Florida State, this is very interesting. Florida State does not make the, you know, what's that? Miami makes it. Florida makes it. Florida State does not. The blue chip index, Florida State's at 49% of their roster 4 and 5 star. Now, they'll make it again next year. But Florida actually has over 50% of their roster 4 or 5 star. Miami has 50 or more percent of their roster 4 or 5 star. The Noles are at 49%.
So Georgia Tech Saturday, an 11.5-point favorite are the Noles. As game day goes to Dublin, and we should see just how vocal the Noles fan will be. David thinks it will be epic. I'm curious to see how much of it we actually see on TV.
Well, the first thing we have to find out is, are they going to do the game or the show outside? Or are they going to bring it inside the stadium? Because I believe, and then if they do it outside, are they going to basically confiscate or really watch the signs? Which usually they don't do, by the way. I mean, they let you go a little nuts. But listen, when we had Jeff Cameron on a week and a half ago, he said he's concerned as to how the Florida State faithful could behave on game day if they go unchecked.
Yeah, I always was of the opinion that it wasn't going to be that bad simply because of the cost involved in making that trek, that you're not on campus where the students could be there and where the noise would be so ever present. But Cameron flipped me. When he said the things he said a couple of weeks ago on the show, I was like, I'll be damned. The money Noel is still as angry as student Noel. That's a bad situation for ESPN.
And then the chance. you know, this is a local Southwest Florida reference, but when FGCU, Dunk City, had their run and they won the 2 games and they're going to the Sweet 16, and the national media descended on Fort Myers, and they're live on the Today Show and Good Morning America the Monday morning after they returned. But also that Monday night, ESPN aired practice, which was a very light practice. They had just played the night before, and Andy Enfield basically had them doing layups and shooting free throws, and the gym was packed and the whole deal. And live on ESPN, a chant breaks out amongst the FGCU college faithful. Well, they were playing the Gators on Friday. Pick your favorite 4-letter word. Have that start the chant. Have the be the second word, and have the Gators be the third word. And as they're interviewing Andy Enfield live on SportsCenter, okay, FGCU is showing off to the nation, the Gators, the Gators. And I don't know how ESPN corrals the Florida State faithful with the chants if they do the show in front of them. Do you, Mark?
No idea, David. Can't corral a chant. That's one thing I'm sure of.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Core-Tech, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real. The Floor Meisters Fantasy Football Summit is back Tuesday, August 20th, 7 o'clock at the all-new Shoeless Joe's inside the Doubletree at the Bell Tower Shops, Fort Myers. Dr. Roto is the star, and he'll answer all your fantasy questions to give you his keys to winning your league. So sign up for Dr. Roto dinner and non-alcoholic drinks at millerandmoulton.com. Seating is limited. millerandmoulton.com, Tuesday, August 20th, 7 o'clock, the Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com. Melissa, Mark Miller with the Miller and Moulton Show in Florida. My number is 239-425-5582. If you could call me back, I'm having the same issue as I was before. The commercials say they're playing, but nothing's firing over the air. If you could call me again, that's 239-425-5582. Thank you. Yeah, whatever. You guys want my cell number? I don't really give a damn right now. It's not going over the air. It's just going to the Twitch chat room. It's not like I answer my phone when people call anyhow. I'll say it to the Twitch chat room. I'm about to put an ad out for real estate and put it on the air. I don't care. God bless. How did this thing work for 4 years and now, or 3 years, and now just doesn't work every other day?
It's Taylor Mathis. All right. She's a betting person. Taylor Mathis. She made 6 baseball bets last night and went 6-0.
It's pretty good.
Including 2 prop bets.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes before the hour. Liam Rooney, an hour from now, from the Tallahassee Democrat. We'll look ahead to the Knolls. He's been covering them, their practices. They head on the plane tomorrow for Ireland. They'll be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then they will play Saturday evening in Ireland, and then they will come back. 21,000 is our text line. If you have not texted us in the last month, you need to type in a new keyword Miller. The old keyword sends the text to Michigan. All right. Miller is the keyword. 21,000. There you go. You never have to do it again.
As simple as that. We've been getting texts throughout the show because our poll question is one about your boss. What kind of a boss do you work for? Brian Flores, Mike McDaniel. In case you missed it, yesterday, Tua was on the Dan Lebitard show and he trashed Brian Flores to a level that we had not heard in a while and really never really Tua's never really spoken that way about anybody.
No, and he was asked the difference, and he said, well, Dan, just imagine there's one guy who for 3 years tells you every day he didn't want you. And really, it was 2 years. Flores was there 3, but he only had Tua for 2. Just, Dan, imagine you worked for somebody who told you every day for 2 years that he didn't want you, that the GM wanted you. I want nothing to do with you. I don't think you're good enough, blah, 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 blah. And then you go to another guy who the first day says to you, you're perfect for what we're trying to do, and then tells you that every day. And so that's specifically Flores to Tua. Now, there aren't reports that Flores treated others the same way. I mean, there are many reports that Flores was tough. Mike McDaniel has not shown that tough side. And Mark, one of the things that we have said about the Dolphins, Mark, we wonder if they are what?
Tough enough. Tough enough. Between the tackles, both sides of the ball. Is this football team tough enough?
To me, one of the geniuses of Bill Walsh is if you think about the legendary coaches in the NFL, and you want to go all the way back, Hallis, Lombardi, Shula, Belichick. They all were what? They were tough. They were taskmasters. Shula came up as a tough, rigid coach. The irony is he became the all-time winningest coach because he ended up being so flexible. He won games based on the talent that he had. But that wasn't how he was at first. And that was a knock on him. Can't win the big game. He's too rigid. Players are too uptight in the big spots. But even, the 72 Dolphins and the heyday Dolphins, when they talk about Shula, they talk about his toughness. He was tough. Ran him into the ground. Tough. There was Don Shula's way and there was the highway.
Can you survive as a coach today being that way all the time? Do you think that style even works with today's athlete? I mean, this athlete, I don't know if coddled is the right term, but this athlete doesn't take criticism, harsh criticism, the way that past generations did.
I do. You're talking to the wrong guy. And maybe it's the old soul in me. Maybe it's, acting older than my age, but you're talking to the wrong guy. Because to me, it's all about, first off, you have to be good. Okay. The player can, be angry at you, but what you're saying has to have a lot of truth to it. But Mark, it's also about who's the best player on the team. I mean, if the best player, one of the things that Brady has said, I completely agree with. All right. If Brady was regarded as the best player on the Patriots, all right, Belichick was hard on him. Therefore, he could be hard on everybody else. Why? Well, if he's giving that to Brady, I obviously got it. And Brady believed in their culture. Okay, he's talking about it today. He wants a tough culture. He wants to be coached hard. He believes you can't do it the other way.
But David, Tom Brady's not of this generation.
True.
He's not.
I understand.
That's a guy who, even in his last years, wasn't really of the generation of the players he was playing with. He's closer to our age than he is the quarterbacks that are coming into the league.
I think I do believe in a lot of cases, Mark, that teams take on the personality of their coach. And I do believe that you just then have to accumulate a certain group of guys. And I'm not bringing this example up because it's the team that I follow more closely. But, the Knicks have, for the first time in a very long time, the Knicks have a culture. What is it? It's Tom Thibodeau. What is Tom Thibodeau? He practices you hard, plays you hard. Knicks starters play more minutes than most every other starting group in the league. That's his theory. Well, what'd they do? They went out and they believe in the coach so much. They went out and got guys that believe in that philosophy and will follow. So they're all on the same page. And they say, we may not be for everybody. We don't care. Now, they haven't won anything yet.
Yeah, Texter, and were criticized for what? Running out of gas, coaching them so hard that it led to injury.
Yeah, and maybe that's true. Maybe it's wrong. Maybe it's a fatal flaw. But, Mark, I also believe of all the sports that you could do it in football.
Texter says the closest coach I can think of right now is Campbell in Detroit.
And yet I think we all know Dan Campbell's got a huge heart. I mean, Dan Campbell has had tears at press conferences talking about what certain players mean to him and what they've gone through and what have you. But yes, that group will run through the proverbial wall for him. I believe, Gary Danielson told me something a long time ago. It's always stuck with me. He said players will do anything to win. And I mean anything. Now, certain anything may not have the shelf life of other anything. He goes, but you get a new coach usually because you're not winning. And the new coach comes in and says, we do this, we're going to win. He said, trust me, the players will do it. Until the players kind of look at one another and go, are we winning? Is this working? Okay. And so, and I believe in, what he's saying. I think players will do, until they decide they want to get paid, I think players will do anything to win.
Well, and it's why I think this works on Saturday, maybe still a little more than it's on Sunday, because what's the shelf life? You're only there for a couple of years. You're cycling through guys.
Right.
That's why Harbaugh, when we, look at Jim Harbaugh, was very successful at Michigan, was very successful everywhere he was. But by the time, even in San Francisco, where he was ultra successful as well, they wanted him out of there. The shelf life had run its course.
Right. Year 4, he had 3 straight NFC championship games, one of them a Super Bowl appearance. Year 4, they go 8-8, and they're like, oh, please leave. Please. Well, and we thought that about Urban Meyer the whole time. We never thought Urban was going to be a successful coach on Sundays. We didn't think he was flexible enough. And the my way or the highway, and then, early on in the my way or the highway, guys are looking at him going, what the heck?
Tomlin gives the impression that he's that type of a coach, but I don't know if you survived that long being that type of a coach, and he's been there as long as anybody. But he has a camp in which, what was his comment? You don't prepare for boxing without sparring. And he wants his camps to be tough.
Bruce Arians, did great, glib quotes and what have you. Bruce Arians was hard on guys. He was Flores and McDaniel. He was hard on them, and then he'd slap them in the back as they leave the locker room. But that's why, I think the Dolphins, I said it the other day, I wanted the owner, Stephen Ross. We don't need any more backslapping with the Dolphins. I look at the Cowboys the same way. I mean, there's a part of me that actually likes what Jerry's doing. I actually think he needs to, enunciate it more clearly. I mean, I wish Jerry had just flat out said, all these guys want to get paid. What have they won? Seriously, what have they won? Okay? Our fans expect championships. We can't even get to a championship game. These guys want to get paid and play here. Do some winning. I'll pay them all top dollar. That's what I think Jerry's trying to say, but he's not saying it like that. And I actually think his fan base would 90% rally behind him if he said those exact words.
Oh, David, I think you're closer to 99% with that. I think that fan base is clamoring for him to be direct with their players. This wishy-washy stuff that he's actually doing, he made the one comment on CD and he backtracked off. He hasn't really stood for anything this offseason when they're expecting him to.
I think that now, listening to Jerry try to explain it 4 or 5 times, I think that's what he meant when he said we're all in this year. That I think Jerry's kind of like, I'm at the end of my run with these guys, with the coach, with the players. Yeah, 3 12-win seasons. That's terrific. How many playoff games have we won? One? Well, what the hell? Pardon my French. I think Jerry's like, hey, I could hire anybody. I could bring any players in here and win one playoff game in 3 years. I really could. I want to win a champion. I want to play for a championship. Can we do that, please?
So most of you, by the way, our poll question is, what type of boss do you work for, Brian Flores or Mike McDaniel? Apparently, all of you have great relationships with your boss.
Oh, my goodness.
2/3 of you working for very good people, which is great to hear.
Awesome.
I love it.
It's
For
fantastic.
the 30 of you that work for Flores, I hope he's the type of tough boss that doesn't bring you down, but just works you hard.
And by the way, when we put Flores or McDaniel, it's just, a tougher boss versus, a very supportive boss. That's all. We're not putting Flores in terms of how he handled Tua. I mean, by everybody's account, apparently the Flores Tua thing was the most toxic thing going.
Maybe should have worded it, does your boss treat you like Flores treated Tua or like McDaniel treats Tua?
And if Flores does speak publicly, I mean, if I was him, I wouldn't. I don't think it helps him to say a word. He did a very good job as defense coordinator last year. I think he'll do another good job as DC this year. I think the offense with Sam Darnold could be bad, but whatever. But, what if Flores answered Tua by coming out and going, by the way, how much more winning have they done without me? Because they've gone out and spent a lot of money and went and got a lot of quote unquote better players. I mean, what if Flores looked into a camera and said, let me tell you something. If I had that roster, we would have won playoff games. How many people would disagree with that, by the way? Now, it would make him completely unhireable. No GM or owner is going to want to deal with that. But what if Flores looked right at him and said, let me tell you, if I had that roster, I'd still be there because we would have won playoff games.
God, would that be great? Can you please get him to a microphone to say that?
Well, that's what you and I would say. He's not going to say that. But, I mean, you look at what he did with what he had. Who's getting more out of what he had?
I think Flores is getting more out of what he had.
I think so, too. Now, it wasn't good for Tua, which ultimately you could argue is not good for the franchise. Totally. And if Flores stayed, he would have been saying to Chris Greer, get me somebody else.
But Flores would have never, I don't think we've ever would have had Flores running an offense similar to what McDaniel does. It's not his style.
No.
It didn't. That style doesn't fit his game plan, which is defense first. But he's now coaching somewhere where this guy loves to throw the ball over the lot and score all kinds of points and is expecting Flores to still have a similar defense. They won't this year because, well, Sam Darnold's their quarterback and this season's a wash.
They don't know it yet, though. Right. This is breaking news to Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings. What do you mean the season's a loss? We just went out and signed Stephon Gilmore. We're all in. We've got Sam Darnold. He's going to have a Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith type year this year. Remember Geno 2 years ago? Baker last year. This year it's going to be Sam Darnold, guys. Who's all in? Do you believe me? Hey, listen, this time 2 years ago, we looked at Pete Carroll and said, you're crazy. A year ago at this time, we went, really? Baker Mayfield? You sure? Are you sure he can play? So who knows? Maybe OC gets the last laugh. Miller and Moulton. Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
Do you have a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
Attention all lovebirds. This is the event you've been waiting for. The Summer Wedding Band event with Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. It's bigger and better than ever. Join the Diamond District August 24th and 25th, where you'll find the perfect symbol of your eternal love. Enjoy 20% off designers retail pricing on their entire collection from Crown Ring, A. Jaffe, My Caroline, M-Fit, and Viraggio. Jason and Todd will be in the store to help you choose the perfect wedding band at 20% off.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
Sonny, Zach Wilson is a far bigger bust than Sam Darnold. No, Sam Darnold's not a top 50 bust, believe it or not.
It's a nightmare.
Well, you know what happened? We fixed it.
God dang. And I've got an appointment at 11 this morning, so I can't really stick around here all morning. And then my sister-in-law decided she'd send pictures of the kids out on the first day of school there, so she sends them to 5 people. So my phone's buzzing with responses. I don't care. I don't care. And you know who else doesn't care is the 7th grader whose first day at school is based on the picture I looked at. She did not seem excited about that photo.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floormeister Studios. Floormeisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 3 of Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday. The Fantasy Football Summit is in 11 hours, presented by Floormeister. Still time for you to sign up, millerandmoulton.com, millerandmoulton.com. Dr. Roto, a buffet. You'll win your fantasy league. If you don't, it's your fault. 7 o'clock tonight. Doubletree, Bell Tower Shops, Fort Myers. Okay, the size is going to be too big for shoeless shows. Okay, they're putting us down the hall in a banquet room even. Okay, plus it's more room for the buffet. Some of us like to graze.
Wow, you are fired up about the Jimmy Buffett. That's all I know. I mean, David alluded to the fact that we don't text each other all that often. And I sent one text to David over the weekend, and it was about our Reds. And that's because we have an over-under bet on the Reds getting blown out 28-3 over the weekend by the Kansas City Royals.
Thank you, Mark.
And David sent me a text yesterday, right? And when I finish the show, I've got things to do. David finishes the show, he's done. And he had to go to the airport. And he's like, hey, we cut a promo that runs on all the affiliates. That's the one thing we have to do. He's like, hey, can I skip the promo? Can you take care of it? I got a flight to catch. Not a problem. So I take care of the promo. I get that done. And then I look and I've got him texting me. Hey, how many people do we have signed up? What's going on with the signups? Where are we at with the signups? So I give him, I finish my stuff. I give him the number. And I get back a little later in the day, the rundown. And it's all about the buffet. And the items on the buffet.
Right. Just wanted to let you know. I thought it might impress you that they've set up a buffet. In the past, the way we've done it is everybody just placed their order. Okay, but now they're bringing the food to us since we're a little further down the hall. Okay, they don't want people waiting longer for their food, so they bring the food to us. It's less wait.
Might be time for another poll question. Are you an off-the-menu guy or are you a buffet guy?
Oh.
Because personally, I'm an off-the-menu guy.
Depends on what's on the buffet. But our poll question today, it's a pretty good one in light of Tua's comments about Brian Flores, in which I don't believe he ever mentioned his name, right? I think Dan Lebatard did in asking the question, but I don't believe Tua ever mentioned his name.
I don't think so either.
But, clearly, Flores and Tua were oil and water. It didn't go well. But Flores has the reputation of being a tough, more of a hard-ass coach. While Mike McDaniel is, as you famously said about Cam Cameron, butterflies. Mike McDaniel is, pillows and backslaps and what have you.
Definitely one's glass half empty, the other is glass half full.
And so we ask you, who do you work for? Which way does your boss lean? Tougher or softer? And apparently, around 70% of you have a boss that's more like Mike McDaniel.
First time texter sent in this, David. Those people are full of they're scared their boss is listening.
No, it's anonymous. There's no way to be outed unless you send us a post.
Yeah, but if they checked your Twitter, it does show who you voted for. I mean, if they went to the if you do go to the links, you can see by a check mark, I believe, of who you vote. At least I see on my own. I don't know if I can see on others of how they voted.
Well, you know me. I can't. I mean, please. I don't even know how to change my X handle. You want me to be able to figure out how people voted? Please. I don't even know the vote totals. I just know total number of votes. That's the only thing I know at the end of the poll question. So the only way I can figure it out, Mark, if it's something, like a round number that's like, 33% of this, well, then I know how many votes it is. So that's our poll question. Mark, for the record, said, hey, last time I was a boss, I was Flores.
Never would be again if given the opportunity. I've spent a lot of time, in all seriousness, thinking about how I would have done things differently, how I would have been a better boss. And would that have changed things?
Let me ask you this. Do you think you would have been more effective, though, because your organization that you were a part of was the best in the league that you were in? I mean, the rest of the league looked at you guys and were like, oh, they're the best.
Yeah, but some of my employees didn't look at me that way.
Well, I understand that.
And I would do anything to change the minds of some people, even though their perceptions of me were 100% accurate. I don't like those perceptions.
Gotcha.
I regret the way I've acted in a lot of situations, and some of them at that place.
Do you think there are certain people who would have been more effective if you had handled them differently?
Think they may have stayed longer.
Gotcha.
I don't know if they would have been more effective, but I think I could have kept people around a little longer, and some of the turnover that I had to deal with wouldn't have been as rampant. And I don't know about rampant, as quick.
Okay, fair enough. And I said, and I was a boss 3 times while in local news as, quote, sports director, unquote. And I mean, I never had a department that was more than 6 people, but I started out as McDaniel and ended as Flores.
This texter says, my current boss is a McDaniel, and he's great. My previous boss was a Flores. Hated him, but definitely learned more from him.
Interesting.
So I hope you go to work today and call your boss McDaniel or Flores and see if they get it.
Hey, Brian. Hey, Mike. And the boss goes, that's not my name. Is he okay? Do we have to drug test him? What's going on? Or you could be like David Samson. An hour ago on this show, what did he call himself? McFlores?
Right.
Or Floor Daniel.
Floor Daniel.
We came up with Floor Daniel, McFlores. Right. He would not answer the question.
We did get a texter who said he's a McDaniel. Anybody that's wishy-washy on the subject's a McDaniel.
See, I think he's 65-35 McDaniel, but when he goes Flores, he goes Flores. That's my analysis, obviously, having never worked a minute for David Samson, but we've gotten to know him a little bit, not just, there are 12 minutes on the air. We converse off the air and we text one another and what have you. I'm guessing he's a McDaniel 65-35, but when he goes Flores, he goes Flores.
The one thing I'd like to see David Samson is, because I know he has a good time. He goes out. I would like to see Samson 4 or 5 drinks in, because then I really think he'd let loose, because he's already honest to a fault.
Earlier, we were talking about coaching styles that have been most effective in the NFL. And one of the things I always admired about Bill Walsh is that I thought of if there were 4, 5, 6, however many you think great/legendary coaches there were before the 21st century, I think he was the only one who was not under the hard ass category. All the others from Paul Brown and Hallis and, we at Lombardi, we all know, even Landry, Noel. Okay. If you think they make, that list, I mean, when you hear their players talk about, I mean, many a Dallas Cowboy who played for Landry talked about getting to know him after he was fired and after I played with him. Wow, what a totally different man. What a great man. Okay. But man, when you played for him, it was hard.
Jimmy Johnson seems like he was both.
Yeah, I guess.
Seems like he threaded the needle a little bit to me. And I could be off base with that.
But that's why I admired Walsh so much. That Walsh was able to, I mean, first off, the way he handled the quarterbacks. I mean, he was constantly making life miserable on Joe Montana. I mean, if a coach handled Joe Montana today the way Walsh did in the late 80s, all right, I mean, it would be vilified. But Walsh was known as a player's coach. Remember the first Super Bowl, Mark? They show up in Detroit. He's the conductor on the bus, and he's greeting the players as they walk off the bus. It was Forrest Gregg of the Bengals and, the disciple of Lombardi and the Bengals, and then there's Bill Walsh, who you thought was then going to walk on stage and do 10 minutes. And obviously he had a tough side to him, and then Walsh's coaching tree, Mark, while all of them had a tough side to them, they're known more as players, coaches, and offensive guys, whether it's Holmgren, even going to Denny Green, Billick. I mean, his coaching tree, which is huge, very few of them were tough asses.
Isn't that almost a side of the ball thing? When you look at a defensive coach, more of the hard-ass style, the offensive coach, a little bit more forgiving, a little bit because they have to be.
But now we have two legendary coaches of the 21st century, Belichick and Andy Reid. Very different. Very different. And obviously both very successful. Belichick more successful, but, what Andy Reid's doing here, I mean, if Andy's health, if Andy can stay healthy, it might be Andy Reid that breaks Shula's record, not Belichick. I mean, what's he at, like 260? Something like that? I mean, he's got
to be employed again first.
Exactly. And by more than just media companies.
Of which he's got that cornered, it seems.
My goodness. Saw Pat McAfee for a half an hour yesterday, breaking down preseason. Unbelievable. So that's our poll question. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X. Your boss. More Brian Flores, more Mike McDaniel. And if you're a boss, vote which way you think you are. And let us know. Liam Rooney, in 25 minutes, we'll talk about Florida State traveling to Dublin, kicking off the season Saturday against Georgia Tech, right here on Miller and Moulton.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymade.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymade.com/FTMYERS.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
$51.
Sonny. Hey, are you making money, Sonny? I mean, the most money I ever made in terms of percentage of winning bets is on Ivy League basketball. So who cares if it's a winning bet?
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
I like it. Little new, little different. I like it.
Just be thankful anything's playing at all right now, David.
If you're not watching, twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton, Mark Miller presses a button when it's time to come back from break, sometimes two. And I have seen on at least one occasion in the show, he has brought both arms up with fingers crossed. Like, come on. It's like you're rolling craps at the table. Come on, 7.
No, it's not working correctly, but I have figured out a way to get it to work. That's all that really matters. David, as long as the commercials play.
That's right.
What are sports? A TV show? We're a radio show.
Correct.
We need commercials. We need sponsors. No other time to tell you that I make sure the sponsors are taken care of. That's why you should sponsor this show. 21,000. Text sponsor to 21,000. We need about 4 or 5 more to make life a little easier on Miller and Moulton.
You know, we've had a lot of fun and spent a lot of time trying to find out whether or not people are working for a tough boss or whether or not they're working for a really nice, supportive boss. You know, the difference between Brian Flores and Mike McDaniel with the Dolphins, based on an interview Tua did and how he characterized Flores and what have you. But I thought we were going to spend more time on sponsors. I mean, Mr. Meat Master, the new official sponsor of the Miami Hurricanes. I thought this was going to open up a whole avenue for us here. How do you even, I mean, listen, I only did sales at the radio station where you're sitting in to sell sports radio. That's the only sales I've ever done in my life. And now obviously, trying to solicit some sponsors here for Miller and Moulton. So that's all I've ever sold. You've sold. You're a real estate agent now, besides what you do here at Miller and Moulton. You have sold many different things.
My soul.
Well, wow. I thought we were going to save that for the bonus hour. But I don't know about you, but when I used to do sales on a regular basis and I would drive by a place and they would just, I could never see myself going in and asking for a sale from there. All right. Am I biased against the name Mr. Meat Master?
I think you are, because they're selling meat. And from the looks of it, they're trying to sell high quality beef.
Well,
online, delivered to your door.
Wow. I'm a fan of that.
Right. Now, it's not cheap.
Well, it's high quality meat. do you think you got to come up with a nice jingle, don't you, for Mr. Mr. Meat Master, Mr. Meat Master? No,
I think you just stole someone else's jingle and gave it to Mr. Meatmaster.
I think
You just stole the theme from Wheel of Fortune, or at least the commercial. That's what I heard there. I'm a wheel watcher, is what I think you were doing there. If I'm not mistaken, David, you were doing Wheel of Fortune.
You know, I probably was, and I don't watch Wheel of Fortune. All right, but I worked for enough TV stations that led into Wheel of Fortune. But you know, you're right. I think I did, but I think it works. And besides, now that Pat's leaving and Ryan's coming in, who knows? I mean, Mark, it could be a whole different set and a whole new theme music. So maybe that becomes available. I'm a meat master. I'm a meat master.
There's a lot of different directions you could take Mr. Meat Master on a college campus to, none of which I want to say on the air. They all, I'm fearful right now just to get through this segment.
Okay. Wow. Let's go back to our poll question. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X. Who do you work for? Mr. Meat Master, Brian Flores, or Mike McDaniel? That would have been great. We really should have included that in the poll question. But apparently 2/3 of you work for a really supportive boss. Wow. Which then begs the question, how come you're all so miserable? Why is everybody so angry?
That's a dadgum good point.
Apparently it's not coming from work.
No.
Huh. Okay. That's good to know. Let's accentuate the positive.
Well, then maybe the next poll question should have been, who are you married to, Brian Flores or Mike McDaniel?
We're dangerously close to getting in trouble today, aren't we?
Well, we always try to get right to the edge, David. That's part of the charm of this show.
Well, you had mentioned something last segment about, your soul. And if, you start going down questions like that, we start getting at our audience's soul. Usually we just try to stick to sports soul.
Yinzer Wunzers, there's a great bait shop in Bonita Springs, Florida, Master Bait and Tackle.
Yep. Can't beat our bait.
Right.
Great slogan. Fantastic.
Many a t-shirt and koozies been purchased by someone who's never, ever thought about fishing.
Yep.
From that little bait shop.
Absolutely. So, hey, if you're just joining us and what you may have missed yesterday in the sports world, a bunch of injuries in the NFL, the Bills, man, whew. They don't have a backup quarterback worth a darn right now, and you could say Mitch Trubisky isn't, but he was the backup. He's hurt. He's going to miss the start of the season. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, remember, they got rid of their top two receivers, and now he's going to miss the early part of the season. Tight end Quentin Moss, he's going to miss the early part of the season as well, all because of injuries. We know about Milano out until at least December. I mean, this has not been a good off-season training camp for the Bills. Just hasn't. There's no way they're as good to start the year this year as they were to start the year last year. No way.
Who will take that division?
I'll ask it again. Week 18, final game of the regular season, Dolphins at Jets. Is it for the AFC East?
It very well could be. And I'm picking the Jets in this division.
Right.
And you and others have mocked me for it.
I haven't mocked you. I'm just saying, wow, that's bold. That's, that they haven't won the division, I think, since 2002. So that's bold. Even when Rex Ryan made the playoffs and went on those runs, he did it as a wild card. Herm in 2002, I think, won the division. I know we won the division in 2002. I don't think when they made the playoffs, otherwise with Herm and with Mangini, they were wild cards, I'm pretty sure. Because the Patriots won the divisions those years.
Well, yes, it's not a division that many teams have won, David. I mean,
no.
There was one team that had a stranglehold on it for a generation.
Right. I mean, the Jets in 2002 and the Dolphins in 2008. And otherwise, it's been the Patriots or the Bills. in the last 23 years who have won the division.
So if I would have said the Dolphins, it would have been just as bold as saying the Jets.
Yeah, I think not as, only because the Dolphins have had 4 consecutive winning seasons. And so the thought is that the Dolphins are closer, whether they actually are or not. But that's the feeling. And remember, the division was theirs for the taking last year, and they screwed it up. But if I'm picking the Dolphins, which is where I'm leaning, Mark, then don't I have to, when making that pick, be confident that they can go into Jersey in early January and beat the Jets?
I think you have to be. And that's where I'm apprehensive of this football team. I've said it all preseason. Are they tough enough between the tackles on each side of the ball? Can they stop 3rd and 1 when they need to stop it? And can they get 3rd and 1 without having to trick you? And so far, Miami hasn't proven to me that they can play that kind of football, and they have to prove that they can beat good football teams.
Yeah, they have not done it under McDaniel / Tua. They have not done it. What is it, 3-12 against playoff teams in the last 2 years? Their record 1-6 last year. Miller and Moulton. Liam Rooney, he covers the sports scene in Tallahassee, including the Knowles. He will join us from the Tallahassee Democrat next.
You have a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
Attention all lovebirds. This is the event you've been waiting for. The Summer Wedding Band Event with Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. It's bigger and better than ever. Join the Diamond District August 24th and 25th, where you'll find the perfect symbol of your eternal love. Enjoy 20% off designers retail pricing on their entire collection from Crown Ray, A. Jaffe, My Caroline, M-Fit, and Viraggio. Jason and Todd will be in the store to help you choose the perfect wedding band at 20% off.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com. Liam's on.
Great.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour, our final segment in Lake City and Charlotte County. The Diamond District bonus hour for the 239 and the 904 is coming up. Howard Cross to join us at the top of the hour. We'll talk a little Giants football with the former Giant tight end. Liam Rooney is kind enough to join us right now. He covers the Florida State scene, including the football team. You can follow Liam on X at _Liam Rooney. He does his work for the Tallahassee Democrat. Liam, it's David and Mark. Thanks for doing this. How are you?
I'm good, guys. How are you guys?
Well, we are fine. First, let's get into Florida State before they get on the plane tomorrow. Just from an injury standpoint, any key players out?
No, they're healthy heading into this game, which is a big thing for them. I know in the past there's been some questions about week one, but they look to be pretty much healthy heading into this Georgia Tech game in Ireland.
What can we expect offensively from this team in week one? Obviously, DJU, the new quarterback, comes in. He has a lot of experience, but a lot of new receivers. They lost many skilled players from a year ago. So what do you expect offensively from the Noles in week one?
When I look at them, I really like what the offensive line looks like and what it gives them. So I think that can open up the running game for them. They have a lot of really talented running backs who all kind of give FSU a little bit of a different look out of the backfield. Obviously, we saw Lawrence Toafili last year, and he's kind of primed to take a big step up from going from Trey Benson's, understudy to now being the guy of the running back room. And a guy like Roydell Williams, who transferred in, I like what he's shown. He's quick, he's fast, and he's very strong between the tackles. So I could see a heavy dose of the run game. But the wide receivers have been coming up to speed, especially in this last week or so. So I think we could see a bit of variety in the offense. And, they have a lot of speed. So whatever it is, expect the skill position players to be moving quickly. They're a very fast group.
Liam Rooney, Tallahassee Democrat, talking Noles here on Miller and Moulton. We had Phil Steele on last week, and when we brought up Florida State, he said, when I talked with Mike Norvell for an hour and I brought up all the guys you've lost, he said, Phil, I actually think we could be better. Do you understand or see what it is that Coach Norvell is alluding to?
I can see where he's coming from with that one, and he has mentioned that to the media members multiple times that he thinks that they can be better. When I look at it first, I look at the defense, which is crazy to say because that defense last year with guys like Jared Verse and Braden Fisk and Jerry and Jones out there at the defensive back position, they were a very strong group. And Adam Fuller had coached them up to an elite level. But this year they could be better on the defensive side of the football.
Wow.
Offensively, I think the potential is there. When these receivers are clicking in practice, it's really fun to watch. And a guy like Malik Benson, I think, could be in for a really big year. He's quick, but he's able to, do a lot in his route running ability. And I think they could take a step forward. Obviously, it's preseason, and you're still looking at what you want to see from your guys. And I think that I can see where Mike Norvell says they could be better. I think the running back room as I previously mentioned. I know they had Trey Benson last year. It was kind of like a one-man show, but I think this year it's just so dynamic back there. They have a couple of guys who can really make plays, and I think just from that standpoint, the potential of this team could be similar to, or if not better than, what we saw last year.
You mentioned Malik Beckton, but when you look at the receiver group, obviously another group that graduated a lot of players and doesn't seem on paper to be as good, but it sounds like you look at their offensive line, their running game. Is this more of a play action team working into the passing game?
They could be. Yeah. I think that especially early on, you see it in most games and most teams. You really rely on the run game to open up that pass game early in the season, just because you got to get the jitters out, you got to get the timing right. But I think after what I've seen from the receiving group this last week, I think they could be just ready to go at it. Whether it be setting it up through the run or just kind of, straight out the gate, we're gonna pass the football and go for it. But I could see that being a big factor when it comes to game day and playing against Georgia Tech and further down the line in the season, just to be able to sell the run, because this is a group that you don't want to give them a couple of yards to get a head start. A lot of those running backs are very quick, and you just kind of want to keep them as contained as possible. So if they sell hard on that, there could be a deep shot open up. And one thing we do know about DJ Uiagalelei is his deep ball is very good.
Liam Rooney, covering Florida State for the Tallahassee Democrat. Follow him on X at _Liam Rooney _Liam Rooney. All right, 800-pound gorilla question. So how much of what happened to him last year with the playoff do they talk about? Is there an edge to this team because of it? Or is this wipe the slate clean Florida State?
I think it's a little mixture of both, especially when you look at the amount of transfers and new players that are coming in that really weren't a part of that group that has been dubbed the snub. But there are some players who are definitely using it as a motivating factor, kind of having an edge to them. But week one of the fall practice starting and kind of the kickoff of this new season, it was maybe talked about a little bit, but that was just because, it's the natural question and the natural emotion at the time of, hey, we're just getting on the field to get over what happened last year, or, we want to prove what happened last year wasn't right. So I think, publicly it hasn't been talked about. Maybe internally they're using it to motivate themselves. It wouldn't surprise me. That is something that you put on the bulletin board. You put on the bulletin board, you slap it every week, and, you say, hey, we gotta use that as a motivator. But I think, especially when you look at the new players that have come in, they're kind of trying to wipe it clean. What happened last year stays last year. And, even when you look at the playoffs this year, it's not the same system. They won't be fighting for that 14 playoff. We'll have a new 12-team playoff system. So I think they're kind of just taking it as, it happened. We're not happy about it, but, we have a new season ahead of us now. And, all they've been talking about is Georgia Tech and getting to Ireland.
Well, talk about Georgia Tech. What have you found out? What are they thinking? They're an 11-point favorite, pretty good number in the game. But what if you're Georgia Tech? How would you attack Florida State from what you've seen? Is there a vulnerability at all with the Noles?
Georgia Tech has a lot of great speed, and I know I mentioned that Florida State has a lot of great speed, so obviously they'll have that practice against them. But what Georgia Tech does really well with their offense is a lot of motions, a lot of misdirections, and they keep the defense active. And if they start stringing along 2 or 3 big yardage plays, or they're cutting it down with 3 to 4 yard runs, and then maybe break one loose for 8, you got to be able to tire out the defense. And I think that's what Georgia Tech is going to look to do. They're a well-conditioned team. They're able to, like I said, move around in that backfield a lot before the plays to maybe try and confuse coverage or, almost create a miscommunication on the defensive side of the football. I think that's where they're going to look to exploit, I guess would be the word. That's what they're kind of going to game plan maybe for that. Offensively, they just got to, or defensively rather, they just got to try and get pressure home. The Florida State offensive line is very good though, so it is going to be a chess match of sorts. I do think that these two teams match up pretty well with both their strengths and weaknesses. So I could see it being a closer game than maybe some people think, but I think Georgia Tech's speed may be the biggest threat per se for FSU.
Um, Florida State excited about this game in Ireland, or do they look at this as a pain?
They're excited. They really haven't spoken about it much up until, this week, because, you got to do the typical, we're just focused on what's in front of us. But, they're traveling out tomorrow night after practice, and they're very excited. There was a clip going around on social media yesterday when we were talking to Malik Benson, and someone asked him what he was most excited about. And he said, of all things, he was excited to try the McDonald's in Europe because he heard it tastes different over there. So, they're excited. They're ready to get over there and kind of, experience this game. I think for a lot of them, they've said too, this is their first time, traveling out of the country or traveling to Europe, and to be able to play a football game, that's been a big, big honor for them.
All right, Liam, you went there, not me, and you brought up Malik Benson wanting to go to McDonald's, but you said you want to visit the Golden Arches. You're traveling halfway around the world to go eat at McDonald's. Please explain to me why the hell you would do something like that.
Well, I'll start with this one. Fun fact, I'm a dual citizen. I am Irish-American, so I have 2 passports, an Irish passport and an American passport. So I've been to Ireland a few times. The biggest difference is just, with Ireland being such a farming country, there's a lot more fresh meat. They got, the chickens are right up the road that you can go buy from a local supplier, and it's just fresher ingredients over there. It's very minimal, honestly, when you really dive into the differences, and there's sometimes a few different menu items, but I was caught off guard to say that, I don't know if that would be my first answer. Maybe down the line, I'd say I'd go try out McDonald's, but I'm not sure that would be my first answer.
Does it taste different? I mean, what are the Irish potatoes different? I mean, where's the difference?
It tastes a little different, the chicken, and like the meat that they use is it's just straight, like all natural, fresh from kind of local suppliers right up the road, instead of sometimes processed ingredients. So that's really the difference. But it isn't the biggest thing in the world, in my opinion. But it is funny to see that a guy like Benson and maybe a couple other guys in the team are looking forward to that.
This is breaking down the Florida State Georgia Tech game and the trip to Ireland right here. Liam Rooney, Tallahassee Democrat. Follow him on X at _Liam Rooney, _Liam Rooney. Liam, thanks for doing this. Safe travels. Have a great trip. And hopefully we can do this again.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Liam Rooney, kind enough to join us on the Tallahassee Democrat here on Miller and Moulton.
You'd go right to McDonald's when you were there, wouldn't you?
I didn't know. No, I went 12 years ago as CBS did season opener, Navy, Notre Dame. Happened to be the year Notre Dame played for the Natty. All right. And no, I did not do that. I only had like a day. I got in late Thursday. Now, I will say, though, one of my meals was at a Subway. Nothing was open. It was the only thing open when I got to the hotel across the street. I'm sorry. It's not a 2-hour flight, okay? Flew to Scotland, and then, I was hungry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No Irish buffets were open, huh?
I ate all local after that. Drank all local. Okay.
Well, you love, that's, Harp's your beer of choice when you go to a place, right?
First place I went to, they didn't have it on tap. I said, what are you talking about? I live in Florida. I got a place 5 minutes from my house. I can get it on tap. I'm in Dublin, for goodness sakes. And he just kind of looked at me like ugly American.
And you probably did come at him just like that, didn't you?
I didn't come at him with quite that much volume, but I did look at him and I go, listen, I already gave you my license. I'm from the United States. I can get it on tap right next to my house. How can I not get it in Ireland? He looked right at me and he said, listen, all right, we're not as into Guinness as Harp as you guys, okay? First thing you need to learn right now. He goes, I got Guinness on tap, but we're not as into it as you guys. Okay? We've moved past it. Huh. Interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah, that was 12 years ago. Maybe they've, come back around.
Sounds like Liam thinks it could be a game for, I got the sense that Liam thinks it's going to be a game for 3 quarters and Florida State pulls away.
Yeah. I'm taking the points right now, I can tell you.
11 and a half.
Seems like a lot. I'm not a huge DJ guy. He's got to prove it to me. I think it's a big drop off at quarterback from Jordan Travis to DJU until proven otherwise.
I do think they'll be able to run the ball effectively against Tech. But if they play that style of game, it could lead to where that 11.5 can be in a good spot for you.
I got a Georgia Tech buddy. I got to text him and say, hey, any of your people going to this game? Because there's a lot of Florida State folks going to this game.
As well, they should be.
They've had this one circled for over a year. They've been excited about this.
It's a great opportunity. Get the national spotlight right off the get-go. And we'll see if it's a Knowles home game. Because nobody from Ireland goes to these things.
No, they don't. They'll be much more. In fact, they're not even playing in the big stadium. When Notre Dame played there, they got the small stadium. All right. Page 9 of the sports section was Navy Notre Dame. There were 2 big cricket matches going on same day. That was all that the Dublin Times talked about. It was like, is there any mention of this game in here?
Page 9, huh?
It was page 9. It was. It was a 10-page sports section. It was page 9.
Can't say I'm surprised.
No.
They're doing it for tourism dollars.
I'm sorry, what?
They're doing it for tourism dollars.
Yeah, totally.
While they're hosting the game.
Yeah. Howard Cross, talk a little NFL, talk the Giants. Just how bad will they be? We probably won't phrase it quite that way. Longtime Giants tight end, part of the Giants radio network. He will join us on the other side. For those leaving us, have a great rest of your day. The Diamond District bonus hours next. Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
Attention all lovebirds. This is the event you've been waiting for. The Summer Wedding Band event with Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. It's bigger and better than ever. Join the Diamond District August 24th and 25th, where you'll find the perfect symbol of your eternal love. Enjoy 20% off designers retail pricing on their entire collection from Crown Ring, A. Jaffe, My Caroline, M Fit, and Viraggio. Jason and Todd will be in the store to help you choose the perfect wedding band at 20% off.
Do you have a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no.
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com. You didn't do any tours. You didn't do like a Guinness tour when you were there, did you?
No, Gary's wife and I toured downtown. We did a couple churches because they have people buried in some of the churches. Unbelievable. No, we didn't do the Guinness tour.
Howard's all set.
Okay.
I hate calling people this early, but I have no choice with what's going on here.
Yep.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floormeister Studios. Floormeisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Diamond District bonus hour. Thanks so much for being with us in the 239 and the 904. Miller and Moulton. MillerandMoulton.com. Miller_Moulton on X. 10 hours and counting till the Floormeisters Fantasy Football Summit tonight. Go to MillerandMoulton.com and sign up for Dr. Roto, a buffet, and a good time had by all. Let's talk a little NFL, specifically the Giants. Howard Cross, longtime Giants tight end, part of the Giants radio network. You can follow Howard on X at HowardCross87. HowardCross87. Howard, it's David and Mark. Good morning. How are you?
Doing good, guys. How are you doing?
Well, we're doing fine. Obviously, people, freaking out. Daniel Jones, first game back from injury, first quarter, throws 2 picks. You had quarterbacks in your day that were coming back from significant injury. Just curious then, from your perspective as a receiver, okay, how big of a deal should we make of this preseason performance?
I think you guys are all overblown and not really looking at it for what it was. Daniel held onto the ball the first throw, probably almost 4 seconds. I think he was looking at it and wondering why there was nobody hitting him. So the line has been playing so bad that he just was off for the first 2 throws that he really had in the game because he's so used to being rushed and having to step out of the way and someone coming through and hitting him, and they've really improved their offensive line. And you notice after those 2 plays, it kind of like they settled in, like, oh, well, we can actually throw the ball down the field deep. We can throw it out to the side. That, we can make plays. And it became like this routine moment. He just came back off of injury. And again, every time he dropped back almost last year, he was getting hit, pressured, or jumped on. So this was the first time, I think, maybe in his career, that he's been standing back in the pocket and nobody was around him.
How good can Neighbors be? I mean, what we've seen in the clips, this kid's a tremendous talent. Just how good can he be?
I think he's going to be better than even I expected. I thought he was going to be really good, fall in line with all of the LSU receivers, but he might be one of the top, even with the quarterback play that people are saying with Daniel Jones. He might turn out to be 1,000-yard receiver his first year.
Well, the comparison, of course, the last time they took an LSU receiver in the first round, do we dare, from what you've seen in camp, does he remind you of Odell?
Yeah, I mean, he really competes for the ball constantly. It's not always he runs some routes sometimes and just loses guys, and that's what you really love to see about him. But if he has to, he'll go up and get it, and it becomes one of those things where, if everybody's kind of covered, he's really not covered.
Sounds like you're impressed with what the offensive line done, not just from what you see in the preseason games, but camp's done enough to show you that this offensive line is going to be able to protect Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I mean, I think, having to go against Dexter every day is a big teaching tool, but it looks different. Watching them against the Lions for that week of practice before they played the game, it was just a different feel. They really looked good. The running backs weren't necessarily dodging before they, right after they take the handoff, have to dodge two guys before they get started. It looked different. They had different guys rotating in. You had some backups. I'm like, so they didn't just kind of rebuild the line. They rebuilt it with some depth and with some veterans. And I'm like, okay. And some guys that have proven have been around the league for a while, and that, they're not like at the end of the rope, so to speak. They're kind of in the middle of their careers.
All right, you're a proud Bama guy, Evan Neal, the first round pick from a few years ago from Bama. How's he looking? Giants need him. How's he looking?
Well, he hasn't really practiced. He's been coming off his injury. I guess he had surgery in the offseason. He looks like a big mountain of a man, but he's starting to move. I think I caught him in a couple drills last week when I was kind of over there before a show. In that moment, he looked pretty good, but until he actually, laces them up, snaps it up, and actually gets into the rhythm of the game, which hopefully he's well enough to he'll get some reps in this game. We won't know what he really is until he actually starts playing.
The expectations aren't high nationally for this team. It sounds like you think that they could surprise. Am I wrong in that estimation?
No, you're right. And I'm not being like a homer or anything. I think because of the offensive line play by itself, I think that's going to improve the team so much that that's going to shock some people. It's going to give Daniel time to operate. The backs going to have a chance to operate. The receivers will also. My question with the team is probably, who's the next defensive lineman after Dex and Nacho and the interior? Like, who's going to step up and be that next two rotational guys? Who's going to be the off corner to Banks? Banks is a good young corner, but if he's the number one corner, who's going to be number two? They got a few guys that can fill in, but they're still kind of, I would say, auditioning, so to speak. We have good guys. Oh, this guy could do it. This guy could do it. But to me, that's auditioning. You kind of have to say somebody has to break away from the herd and be that guy, and that's where they're going to have to score more points, because I'm not sure sometimes that secondary may be able to hold up, because you just don't have two to three quality guys at the same position. They might turn out to be, but as of now, they were always backups and everything.
Yeah, is that fair, for someone in our shoes to go, listen, they've lost a corner and two safeties in free agency the last 2 years, and I don't know that they've replaced them. Plus, they're changing schemes, going from blitz heavy to less blitz heavy. Just curious, do you think the change in scheme, by the way, will fit this secondary better?
Well, the change in the off rusher, Thibodeau and Burns, that's going to change things a lot. I think that they're dependent on those guys to get a lot of pressure on some of these quarterbacks. If they're not getting pressure, then that's going to test them. It will test them. I mean, even if they were both veterans and really good, it would definitely test them. And I think that, losing a safety, losing a corner, you don't know until the last, I guess, week. This last week of preseason plus the week between the last preseason game and the first game, who could be winding up in your backfield, in your deep secondary at that moment. But you never know. If there's anything could happen, there could be somebody out there that could raise the level of play of the guys that we have. It could be somebody out there that could be, there may not be anyone out there. But so the teams and the scouts on every team in the league are doing the same thing. They're looking for players. You just got to hope that they're not looking for the same player you are.
Not everybody likes fights in training camp. You brought up the dual practice with Detroit when they obviously got after it with one another. How much did that do to galvanize the team, or is that something the media overblew a little bit?
I think, it's football. You practice against other guys that are not your teammates, and you want to go a little heavy. You want to start hitting a little bit. And in theory, I don't think the NFL is designed this way anymore, and we don't talk about it this way anymore. But that used to be the NFL. Like you rough and tussle with each other, and it'd be a little tussle here and there. And it's not a big deal. But the way that we view things now, if it's not sportsmanship, I guess would be the term that we would use. If it's not constant sportsmanship and constant hugging and everything's okay, guys, it's like, oh, I can't believe they're doing that kind of moment. And I tell everybody this, and they, this is a Howard thing, because America's number one summertime food is hot dogs. Everybody loves a great hot dog. I said, but you don't want to go to the plant to see how it's made. And we cover things so much, and we show so much of everything that we want to see the end product. But when we're seeing how it's made, sometimes we a little, I don't know if I like that.
You blocked for some terrific running backs from the tight end position, whether it was Otis Anderson, whether it was Rodney Hampton, then Tiki Barber, Ron Dane. Just curious, obviously, going from Saquon to no Saquon. How do you view the running back core?
Well, first off, I'm happy Saquon went and got his money, and he, kind of made his own way, even though he really wanted to stay with the team. That's the nature of the beast. But the way the running backs look right now, Singletary is a solid back. I think he rushed for almost 800 plus yards last year behind, I think it was the Bears line, and Texans.
Yeah.
He did a good job. Now he's coming here, like I said, better offensive line. Two speedy guys, actually three really speedy guys on the outside that can really change the floor of the game. That you got to, they're going to be. There's not going to be as much bump and run, because if these guys get a step on you, they're gone. So that's going to be a problem for defenses in that case. And then you have Robinson, who's running around like a dart in the middle that people have to cover. And the tight ends are pretty good too. So I think that he's going to have a better game, because people won't be able to, power to the box, bring 8 and 9 guys in to try to stop. They think the ball's going to the running back first. Like, if we stop the running back, we stopped everything. That's not necessarily going to be true going forward.
Howard Cross, 13 years in the NFL, all of them with the Giants. He's been part of the Giants radio network now for over 15 years. You can follow him on X at Howard Cross 87. Howard Cross 87. Howard, thanks for making time for us. We appreciate your insight. Safe travels. Be well. Hopefully we can do this again.
All right. Have a great one, guys. Appreciate the call.
Howard Cross, kind enough to join us. Just a little, we're trying to go a team a day, 2 teams a day. Just check in before the season starts. Giants open at home with the Vikings. Feels like a must win for them.
For both. No, I'm not kidding.
No, you went through the Vikings schedule the other day in which you thought, first 10 games, this might be their best shot at a W.
And I think, obviously the Giants want to get this win now with Sam Darnold coming in. They think that they have a little something.
This to me, and I don't know how many Giants fans we have listening, but this is a common malady, I believe, throughout the NFL, where you're a victim of the guys you drafted. Like the Giants now, Mark, their 3 wide set are all receivers they drafted. They got the kid from LSU now. Everybody's high on him. Well, a year earlier, they took Wan'Dale Robinson from Kentucky in the 2nd round. Passed on Breece Hall, by the way, to trade down and take him. Well, he hasn't done much. because of injury, but he hasn't done much. They also took Hyatt, the wide receiver from Tennessee last year in the 3rd round, okay, who can run the go, but we don't know if he can do anything else. So the end, Joe Shane didn't draft him, but the Giants, Daniel Jones, they spent the 6th pick in the draft on him. I mean, Evan Neal, the right tackle, 7th pick of the draft. That's a Joe Shane pick. He can't play. I mean, the Giants, I think offensively, Mark, unfortunately, they're at the mercy of whether or not they drafted well. And right now, the verdict is not really.
Minnesota open, at Washington, at Cleveland, home for Dallas, at Seattle, their first 5. Then Cincinnati, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh. Good luck.
I think Cincy's a Sunday night. I think I know that because I'm in town. The next day is Bills Jets for Monday night. Miller and Moulton. Hey, thanks for listening. Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Core-Tech, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
Attention all lovebirds. This is the event you've been waiting for. The Summer Wedding Band event with Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. It's bigger and better than ever. Join the Diamond District August 24th and 25th, where you'll find the perfect symbol of your eternal love. Enjoy 20% off designers retail pricing on their entire collection from Crown Ring, A. Jaffe, My Caroline, M-Fit, and Viraggio. Jason and Todd will be in the store to help you choose the perfect wedding band at 20% off.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com.
Sorry, Irish football. I didn't see it. Your comment in the Twitch chat room. Our bad. It's got to be so funny. Be a proud Alabama guy like Howard Cross is and have your son go to Notre Dame.
be happy when today's over. Then I'll quit getting texts from Lee County commissioners who are America First patriots.
Oh, well, good for them. By the way, I do have I haven't seen anybody campaign on being America's second. Mr. Meat Master, Mr. Meat Master. I don't know about you, but I get the political texts and none of them are ever to my name.
I get a bunch to my mother-in-law somehow, some way from people in Pittsburgh, which I find fantastic. I don't know, because I've bought her enough plane tickets over the years and done that online. Maybe I don't know.
Steelers possibly and something.
No, because that's all through my wife. I don't know.
Okay. So I've been a Brian. Lately, I'm a Brian. I've been a Robert. Okay, but not once have I been politically solicited to my actual name.
I still haven't. Central Station. Let's see who's calling me.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when, along with some final thoughts, a pick or two. Our picks lately have been okay. We've been judicious with them, but they've been largely accurate. I know it's surprised us as well. Go to millerandmoulton.com. Sign up tonight, 7 o'clock at the Doubletree. Bell Tower Shops, Fort Myers. It's not in Shoeless Joe's, the refurbished Shoeless Joe's. We have too many people for it. We're just down the hall a little bit in a small banquet area. Buffet, Dr. Roto, 7 o'clock sharp. You can get there as early as 6. All right? And go for it. Yeah.
Watch David at a buffet.
Also, here's the best part. At the beginning of the symposium, or whatever we're calling it.
It's a master class in fantasy football.
There you go. The TED Talk, which lasts an hour and a half from Dr. Roto. All right. You're all sitting there paying rapt attention. The buffet is unattended. No line, and I can go grazing. And you'll hear nothing but the sounds of plates clattering, because two hands.
Don't be annoying the patrons. These
Hey,
people paid to come to this. They didn't pay to watch you eat, which we might have been able to get more money for in and of itself.
Nope, I'm going to hang out in the back. All right, and nobody's going to see me. I'll try to hide. I don't chew all that loudly anymore. So, but Anyway, MillerMoulton.com, 7 o'clock tonight. Dr. Roto, the Floor Meisters Fantasy Football Summit. Sign up. All right. That's what we need you to do. We need you to sign up online, MillerMoulton.com.
Did you see the comments that Mike Gundy made yesterday?
I thought he made them earlier.
Or he might have made them earlier,
but they're being picked up nationally this week. Yeah.
When asked about the transfer portal and NIL and all of those things, I told the players there's no negotiating now. Portal's over. All negotiations history. Now we're just playing football, just coaching and playing football. This is about the players who want more money.
Yep. Stop calling me and asking for more money. That time is over.
I love it. He's an old school coach.
And he is so college football, in which it's just so different than the NFL. Like, we never would have imagined the late Mike Leach on Sundays. Mike Leach, you looked at him, you listened to him, the way he went about it, the game plan on a bar napkin, seemingly, you're like, yeah, that's a Saturday guy.
But Gundy telling the agents, don't call anymore. What you get's what you get. Love it.
Yep. Oklahoma State, one of the top 3 picks in the Big 12 this year. So I don't know. Second year in a row, by the way, they've sold out every ticket. We wonder, we ask the question all the time, the change of conferences and the loss of rivalries. I mean, there's no more bedlam, Mark.
Which is terrible.
It's really terrible for Oklahoma State. I mean, to lose bedlam. But obviously the fans are still all in. The revamped Big 12, and who's their big rival now? I mean, what's the game you think Oklahoma State circles on the schedule now?
David, I'm looking at their schedule and I have no idea.
I mean,
no idea.
Is it geography now, or is it, if you're a Cowboys fan, and that's Oklahoma State's nickname if you don't know the Cowboys, do you just go with who's the team to beat this year? Like, is Utah on their schedule?
It's their conference opener.
Well, then is that the game of the year for them?
They go Utah, K-State, West Virginia, 3 consecutive weeks.
3 of the top 5 teams in most people's Big 12 prognostications. Utah, Oklahoma State, and the 2 Kansas schools, and then throw in a West Virginia. That's basically top 5 in most consensus Big 12 picks. West Virginia's got a hell of an early season schedule then, because don't they open with Penn State?
They do.
And you're playing Oklahoma State that early?
They open with Penn State, and then they got a cupcake at Albany, then they're at Pitt.
So they play Penn State, Pitt, and Oklahoma State in September.
Oklahoma State's actually October 5th, but yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's getting after it pretty quickly.
Love the fact that West Virginia's playing both Penn State and Pitt.
Oh, it's so good. So good. They don't care if they finish 5th in the Big 12. They just want to play Penn State and Pitt. They really do. I'd prefer to play Pitt at the end of the year. Hey, who knows? Pitt might end up in the Big 12 here in a few years. So this is the word out on the street, Mark. So apparently there's going to be this big investment coming in from, whether it's the Saudis, whether it's just a money management company. They're going to invest in the Big 12. And they're going to throw all this money in. And it's going to do 2 purposes. It's going to, A, solidify Florida State and Clemson, that apparently they're going to get a check to move. They're not going to get more yearly revenue than the other schools in the conference once they join the Big 12. But the word is they're going to get like each $100+ million check. Here you go. Join the Big 12. And then by doing that, then the other schools in the ACC are going to say, hey, is there room there for us? And they're going to go, oh, yeah. And so then enough schools are going to leave the ACC that A, the Big 12 will be up to 24 potentially, but also B, that ESPN can get out of their ACC contract and the conference becomes in real trouble. And if it does stay afloat, it stays afloat in almost a Mountain West type of status.
So it would be a big three.
Correct. That's the latest. If you believe that the Big 12 is eventually going to put the ACC out of business like they put the Pac-12 out of business, this is, and that the check to move Florida State and Clemson happens first.
But Florida State and Clemson did not opt out.
Nope.
Their day was what? Was it last week?
It was the 15th. So it was what, Thursday of last week? That's when they had to opt out.
And they did not. Neither school did.
Right. And so in theory, so they're in the ACC for a minimum of 2 more years. Because even if they opt out on August 14th next year, you know, they still have to play all of 2025. And into the 2026, obviously, spring.
Still gives the Big Ten or SEC time to grab both of them because they'd still rather go there.
Well, probably yes. But how many conferences are going to slide them? You know, and then the other thing is if this money management firm is coming in, it's going to up, you know, what the Big 12 schools are making every year. They're not going to be to the equal of the SEC and Big Ten financially, but they're going to be far greater than what they are now and obviously far greater than the ACC.
But that's for another day, at least another year away before we start seeing rumblings of Florida State and Clemson attempting to leave the ACC because their date for this year has come and gone.
Miller and Moulton. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when. Some final thoughts, a pick or two. It's all coming up tomorrow on the show. I kid you not, the Pro Football Network folks are like, hey, we want to start this week. We're like, well, we weren't going to start you regularly till next week. They're like, we want to start this week. So I can guarantee you Seth Everett and somebody from Pro Football Network on the show tomorrow. Huh?
Hot steaming deal.
Yeah. Make sure you vote in our poll question. Is your boss more Brian Flores or Mike McDaniel? Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening.
Do you have a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no.
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
Attention all lovebirds. This is the event you've been waiting for. The Summer Wedding Band event with Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. It's bigger and better than ever. Join the Diamond District August 24th and 25th, where you'll find the perfect symbol of your eternal love. Enjoy 20% off designers retail pricing on their entire collection from Crown Ring, A. Jaffe, My Caroline, M-Fit, and Viraggio. Jason and Todd will be in the store to help you choose the perfect wedding band at 20% off.
Bob, looking forward to it also.
Yeah, remember your computer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're going to get a lot of rain today, so drive safe.
Oh, great.
My mother set her alarm off this morning. That was the call that I got. And then didn't answer the phone. She goes, they're supposed to call me. That's what she texted. I'm like, they did. Went to voicemail.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes past the hour, the home stretch of Miller and Moulton and the Diamond District bonus hour. Thanks so much for being with us. I know you've had a rough day back there. Computer not working the way it should. You've had to work around it.
We've improvised. We've gotten through it.
All
One
right.
more break and we're done.
Okay. Good job by you. Poll question. So is your boss more like Brian Flores? You know, tough, hard ass, if you will. Or Mike McDaniel? You know, nice, backslapper, you know, clapper, you know, like a Jason Garrett. Yeah, way to go. Okay, guys. You know, keep it up.
You want to play for the hard ass, don't you?
I think in football, it works a little better. Because once again, I'll say it amazed me because the Niners were not soft. They got labeled, oh, West Coast offense. Niners were not soft. He ran the ball more than he threw it. Okay. And the Niners were not soft defensively. You couldn't line up and run it down the Niners' throat.
Hell no. Think about
Okay.
some of the players on those defenses.
Right. And so, you know, I understand you can be tough without having the stereotypical tough coach, but I'll take my chances, to be honest. I will. I'd rather have the tougher coach. Even now, Mark. Now.
It's that time again, nearing the end, but not quite there yet. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
The dial telephone was patented today in 1896. 1920, the first commercial radio station. WWJ in Detroit begins daily broadcasting. Also today in 1920, the American Professional Football Association forms. Jim Thorpe is installed as president. It would later become the NFL.
Canton, Ohio is where they met to form the league. Hence,
the great WJR in Detroit began radio transmissions today in 1925. That might have been just for me, David.
no problem.
The Rolling Stones released Satisfaction today in 1965. NASA launched Voyager 2 towards Jupiter and Saturn today in 1977. It was a big deal, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
It was a really big deal.
Well, wait, that's 77, right?
Yeah.
Viking 1 launched to Mars today in 75. It was a big space day.
Let's go NASA.
It was nice when we could go NASA.
Today in 1989, Howard Johnson joins Barry Bonds and Willie Mays, hitting 30 home runs and stealing 30 bases in a season.
Right. Not that anything was going on or anything. Howard Johnson of the Mets. Also a rarity. He was a switch hitter. Much better lefty than righty, but he was a switch hitter. And that's something, by the way, Mark. We don't see a lot of that anymore.
Not at all. Fewer and fewer.
Yep.
2000 PGA at Valhalla, Tiger becomes the first since Hogan to win 3 majors in a calendar year and wins back-to-back PGA titles.
That was the Bob May PGA, right?
That's correct. And Tiger again at 06 would win his 3rd PGA at Medina by 5. Benjamin Harrison, our 23rd president, and Isaac Hayes both would have celebrated birthdays today. Don King is 93. Greg Nettles and David's mother are both 80. Connie Chung is 78. Robert Plant, 76. Quinn Buckner, 70. Todd Helton is 51. And Chris Drury is 48. What did I miss, David?
Well, I got 2 things for you. On this day in 1945, the youngest player to ever homer in a Major League Baseball game did so. Brooklyn Dodgers' Tommy Brown. Now, remember, these are war years, so we got guys playing who wouldn't normally play. You know, it was only like a week and a half after, we had dropped the 2 atomic bombs. So 17-year-old Tommy Brown, youngest player to homer in a Major League Baseball game. Care to guess how old he was?
18?
17 years old.
How about that?
Remember, Joe Nuxall the year before had pitched an inning.
Oh,
or
Nuxie Nuxall.
Just stop it. Legendary Reds broadcaster. Okay. You're just getting back at me for Mr. Meatmaster, aren't you?
Not at all.
Boy. And because I bring this up and Mark doesn't, the Menendez brothers killed their parents today in 89.
Isn't that enlightening?
Sorry.
time to see life a little bit differently. Here's Mark Miller with the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
You know what? And I apologize because I didn't do this yesterday. We have a sponsor to this now. It's the Cape Coral Police Department. Go to capecops.com. They're giving you $10,000 if you sign on to be a new police officer in Cape Coral. capecops.com.
Now,
For the good,
is that because once a week at least one of their stories, either good, bad, or ugly, makes the survey?
they did inform me that they will keep doing their job to make the good, bad, and ugly a part of this show. Chief of Police is a friend of the show. He likes our show. He listens every day.
That's
Whether he listens
awesome.
live or he downloads the podcast.
Just wait, probably does it to go, did we make the good, bad, and ugly today? And if so, well, did we rescue somebody? Was it that incident in the mall parking lot? What?
I wonder if the officer who arrests the person responsible for the ugly gets a little accreditation inside the meeting room, if you know what I mean.
Right. I wonder if they come in now and go, hey, Bob, you'll be the ugly tomorrow.
For the good, we go to Hong Kong, where Ying Ying, a panda, gave birth to twin pandas, becoming the world's oldest first-time mother of its kind on record. She's 19.
Wow. So a 19-year-old panda, that's late in life. Okay, that makes sense.
For the bad, we go to Port Charlotte, where the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office arrested a man who ran up behind a bicyclist and slung a machete. Andrew Shattuck approached the biker, shouting horrible things at him, and then threw a machete at him. He missed the bicyclist, who then got off his bike and started running for his life. Shattuck threw the machete again, hitting a tree. Police arrived on the scene and arrested the 40-year-old. Finally, the ugly. We go to St. Petersburg, where Natasha Davis got mad at her sister because her sister brought home food and didn't bring any for Natasha. Natasha threw the ravioli at her sister. When police arrived, sauce was still on the younger sister.
Threw ravioli?
Yes. I have to be honest, don't do more than throw food at your... You and I are only children, David, so we can't relate to this, but...
Right.
If you're going to... Don't you have to throw more than food to call the police on your sibling?
I would think so. I mean, based on what I understand about sibling relationships, that's just something that is a day that ends in Y.
No word on what type of ravioli it was.
You mean versus like cheese or meat or what?
Yeah, correct.
Listen, I think, although I do think it's an arrestable offense to throw ravioli. I'm a big ravioli fan, which I know surprises you.
That is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, August the 20th, 2024.
So, it's baseball. It's baseball. It's baseball. It's baseball. That's what we got. Everybody playing today. There are some series beginning tonight that did not get underway last night that are worth your attention, like Guardians Yankees. Think about what's at stake there. Cleveland's lead is 2.5 over both the Twins and the Royals. The Yankees lead over the Orioles is a half a game. And aren't they tied in the loss column for best record in the league?
Yeah, the Guardians are a half game behind the Yankees for best record in the American League.
So Guardians Yankees in the Bronx begin tonight. Phillies Braves. If the Braves have any shot at the Phillies with all their injuries, I don't think they do. They're 7 back. They play 7 times in the next 2 weeks. 3 in Atlanta, 4 in Philly. The 3 in Atlanta series begins tonight. And Listen, we got to start looking at, is Milwaukee going to finish with the best record, heck, in baseball? Never mind the National League. I mean, if you want to hold out hope, if you're the Cardinals, you're 11 back. You host them for a 3-game series beginning tonight. But St. Louis just needs to get back in a wild card chase. They're below 500. But it's worth paying attention to. I mean, Milwaukee might end up the 1 seed, for goodness sakes.
Right now, they're the 3 for what it's worth.
So that's on top of Orioles, Mets. Marlins are hosting Arizona. Rays are in Oakland. By the way, do we go over under last night's total, 39-38 in Oakland for Rays A's tonight?
I'll go under.
I'll go over. Tuesdays, I think, do a little better than Mondays. But
okay.
Yeah, 39-38 on hand last night, ladies and gentlemen, for Rays A's, otherwise known as the Shovel Series. That was named by Mark Miller yesterday. The 2 franchises that will be putting a shovel into the ground in early 2025, the Rays and the A's. WNBA tonight, there's 3 games. No Caitlin Clark.
Yeah. Then is the WNBA really playing?
They are playing. It's just no one's watching. That's what, NBA TV, by the way, if you want to watch Dallas and New York. They're only separated by 17 games in the standings. That's all.
It's a league of have and have-nots, isn't it?
Oh, yes. In fact, oftentimes, at least one of the 8 teams that makes the playoffs has a really bad record. Yeah, there's no middle ground in this league.
Well, Indiana's in the playoffs, and they're a game under 500. Or now they just got to 500, right, with the 2 wins that they had?
I think they're still below 500, but, Mark, at one point, they were 3-10. So 13-15 are the Fever. But Chicago's the 8 seed at 11-16. And I don't think they've won a game since coming back from the Olympic break. But MLS gets underway. I believe they return to action Saturday. The MLS. Long Olympic break.
That's amazing how long they've been off, considering the real soccer's already started.
Right.
I mean, the Premier League kicked off on Friday.
Exactly. So, and no exhibition football, and you'll never see a starter till opening day, but 3rd preseason game, at least something for you to bet on. I think the next one's Thursday.
Still a couple of jobs to be had. Still don't know who the starter is going to be in Pittsburgh. Mayo kind of alluded that he doesn't have a starter yet in New England, which I thought was very unusual.
Yeah, I don't get that. I mean, come on. Drake May's not ready. I mean, don't do that to him. He's not ready.
Well, it's not just that he's not ready. The team's not ready.
Right. So don't do it.
More than he's not ready. They don't have a good offensive line. They don't have weapons. They don't have an outlet for him to, not like a great, they've got a good tight end, but I mean, that's probably their best position. But there's nothing there for him.
Yeah. So don't be in a hurry. The next 2 years are all about, all right, getting, your cap in order, you're getting rid of the veterans and, what have you, but then also him. So don't make a single decision which doesn't put him first. He's your future. Hope to see you at the Fantasy Football Summit tonight, millerandmoulton.com. Otherwise, we'll see you back on the air tomorrow. David Moulton of Miller and Moulton, just wanting to let everyone know our show has changed in that we now own 100% of it. And that means not only do we produce all the content, but we also now have to sell it.
So no better time to tell all the car dealers, lawyers, jewelers, construction companies, bank managers, insurance agents, or bar restaurant owners that Miller and Moulton is the 2nd highest rated show for men 25-54 and men 35-64 in Lee, Collier, and Charlotte counties, while being the morning show that men listen to the longest.
So you probably should be advertising on Miller & Moulton. And if you'd like to, contact us directly by texting sponsor to 21,000 or hit up Mark on X at that Mark Miller or me at the David Moulton.
No one can give you the pricing or service on Miller & Moulton like Miller & Moulton. To advertise, text 21,000 now.
Or you can hit us up on X. Mark is at that Mark Miller, and I'm at the David Moulton.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
Attention all lovebirds. This is the event you've been waiting for. The Summer Wedding Band Event with Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. It's bigger and better than ever. Join the Diamond District August 24th and 25th, where you'll find the perfect symbol of your eternal love. Enjoy 20% off designers retail pricing on their entire collection from Crown Ring, A. Jaffe, My Caroline, M-Fit, and Viraggio. Jason and Todd will be in the store to help you choose the perfect wedding band at 20% off.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no.
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor, a neighborly company.